spiked out. I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another This Week in Startups. Number 47, Tyler. We've made it to 47. That means we're 3 shows away from number 50. And also, I think we've been doing this for a year now. Have we been doing this for a year?
May 2nd will be Brian's.
May 2nd will be Brian Alvey, 1-year anniversary of Brian Alvey.
Right.
Which means we're going to hit 50 episodes in 1 year, which is basically one a week we've done. Some weeks we did 2, some weeks we didn't. Last week we missed. Tyler and I had to make an emergency visit to San Francisco for a dinner.
Yeah.
That went pretty well.
That was awesome.
That was awesome. Sometimes you guys have to understand there are priorities, and not that you guys aren't a priority, but the priority is to make a lot of money.
I think we also owe Ethan from.
Oh my God, I am so embarrassed about this.
I didn't know that. This is irony of ironies. The only 2 times we've ever had to cancel.
Only 2 times we ever canceled the guest. It's the same guest.
Right.
So Ethan from Red Beacon, who won TechCrunch 50, got my vote as the winner of TechCrunch 50, by the way. 50 Gs. He won 50 Gs, 25,000 of which are mine. I get no equity for doing that. It's a little crazy. I sure get a little equity, but that doesn't matter. What do I care? But anyway, I'm very sorry. Red Beacon's an awesome site. They won TechCrunch 50. You guys know the other winners of TechCrunch 50 were Mint and Yammer. Yammer is probably going to get bought for $100 million this year. Not that I have inside information. Not that anybody should tweet that. However, I think that Yammer will get bought this year for $75 to $125 million. And that's not based on inside information because I'm very good friends with David Sachs and have dinner with him every month or 2. But, you know, this is what I think. Yeah. Mint, of course, bought for $200 million, $300 million. What was it bought for?
175, yeah.
175, the first winner. And Red Beacon launching, getting good traction. So we're going to have him on the show. We're going to make it up to him. Again, I am very sorry. Terribly embarrassed by Tyler's errors. Tyler doesn't make
I didn't
errors.
know we were canceling because last time we got canceled on, I didn't do the canceling.
I know. It's a very terrible thing. But I had an emergency meeting up and had literally somebody flying in from another country, another company, myself. It was like Mahalo plus this other company plus another company. It's a very big deal. And you know, this is the thing about being a CEO. Sometimes you get emergency calls. You got to go. I'm sorry about the episode last week. Terribly embarrassed that you guys had nothing to do on a Friday, but I assume that you guys were busy building your companies. So all's well that ends well. We're going to have a great show today. We got a lot of things we have to catch up on. One thing we do not need to catch up on is DNA Mail. DNA Mail. Everybody loves DNA Mail. They've been sponsoring the show since the beginning. Everybody knows they provide fully hosted, managed Microsoft Exchange and Google Apps email. This is much more economical. You just pay by the user. There are no other costs. It's reliable, 99.9, and put a whole bunch of other 9s up there in my experience. It's much better than trying to run your own email servers. So go support DNA Mail. DNA Mail, everybody loves DNA Mail. They've been sponsoring the show from the beginning. And they told me they're going to sponsor forever. I believe them, actually. I mean, really, we wouldn't have been able to do this first year of the show. Everybody knows Tyler is a little bit of a prima donna. He's got the trailer. He's got the masseuse. He's got the chef. I mean, basically all this DNA sponsorship money is just going to keep Tyler appeased so we can get the 2 insights out of him a week. No, I joke with Tyler. It's the exact opposite. Tyler is the most humble and hardworking guy I've ever worked with. Literally, when we're somewhere, he'll carry my bag totally unnecessary just to make me look better. He'll work through the night to fix some minute problem. That's why I love Tyler. That's why I love working with people like this. But I'll tell you, I'm going absolutely crazy, Tyler.
Why?
I'm getting crazy about Generation Y. I'm literally, you know, I got the OCD thing. Sometimes I start thinking about things. And
these are usually triggered by some event at the airport or what.
It's usually something that triggers it. This is a building thing.
Okay.
This is not like a specific like Keiretsu Forum must die, you know, or demo conference is charging, but it is on that level. And I am writing an email newsletter, and I wrote this email newsletter. It's literally 4,000 words now, and I'm not half done. I literally am going to write 10,000 words about Generation Y. I guarantee you the email will be 10,000 words. Because I have so much to say about it. And I have to just talk about it a little bit here and just sort of, I like to float the ideas before the email newsletter comes out.
The irony being because it's over 400 words, no Gen Y will read it.
Yeah, that is the big irony. Neil Robertson is here with us this week. Thank you for introducing yourself. No, you're allowed to. He's the CEO of Trada, and he's doing some very interesting things, which we're going to get to later in the interview segment. But we met when I was in Boulder. for all things the Open Angel Forum. And about like 5 people said, you got to meet this company, stealth company, stealth no more.
No more.
We had a nice meeting. I said, this is great. You have to come and talk about it on This Week in Startups. We were able to make it happen. I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you for making the trip all the way from Boulder. And that's a very cool place. I want to talk about the Boulder startup scene later. But getting back to the Gen Y thing. This is a message to Gen Y people. And now, does everybody know the difference between Gen X and Gen Y?
There was actual dates and...
Okay, it's debated.
I think you're going to make a case that there's a...
I don't know there's an event. I don't know that there's a specific demarcation point. I've heard 1980, I've heard 1983, I've heard 1985, whatever it is. Basically, somewhere around 1983, 1984, everything went wrong. It went off the rails.
I think it's Duran related somehow.
Something, maybe it was a breakup or something. I don't know what it is. Anyway, point is, right around that time period, young people started to care about the environment, the world, their own fulfillment, which is great. I really think everybody should be fulfilled and have a great life. But then they got rid of competition in schools. You know about this, Tyler. When you went to school, you had a winner and a loser when you played basketball or baseball or chess.
I have no participation badges.
No participation badges. And so they call this Generation Y the trophy generation. They also call them millennials. But the Generation Y makes it easy because it comes after Generation X. And Generation Y are people who never lost in their lives. And they were told participation is okay. Let me tell you something very clearly if you're part of the millennial generation, Generation Y. Participation means ungats, nothing, nada. You get nothing in life for participating. It means zero, squadouche, nothing. The fact that you show up for work every day means nothing. If you kick ass at work, if you succeed, if you work harder than the people around you, and you make yourself more valuable, then you've won. And you're better than them. And that is a good thing. You should be competitive with the people around you. You should try to beat the people around you. You should try to dominate the people around you. You should try to win and be successful in life. Participation means nothing. Your fulfillment means nothing. Nobody cares if you're fulfilled. Nobody cares if you participated. You were lied to. There is no trophy in life for participation, except your tombstone. That's your participation trophy. Congratulations, you got a tombstone. And it's not even going to be that big when you get it, by the way. And nobody's going to remember who you are or what you did. And this is the reason why America is absolutely tanking, is because these Gen Y people, and I'm not saying it's all Gen Y. I think I've done a pretty scientific survey right now. Somewhere between 70 and 80% of Gen Y have absolutely no motivation, no killer instinct. They're all on some kind of antidepressant drug. And they cry in their coffee all day, and they don't want to win. They're the lamest generation ever. Now, I'll go back to, and the other 20, 30% of the people listening to this show, and somebody just said Alex in the chat room. Alex is the 20% I'm talking about who kicked ass, like Tyler. He's the exception in Gen Y, not the rule. And the people who are starting companies and crushing it, those are the Gen Ys, those are the people I love. And the fact that they have a good worldview and they want to save the planet, that's all noble. But you have to want to succeed in life and not just think that you want the planet to be saved. You have to go do something. And being successful and making money and being powerful will let you do more good in the world than being lame and getting nowhere in your career and having no ambition. Is any of this making sense, Tyler, or am I just rambling?
No, it makes perfect sense.
I am so angry at the 80% of Gen Y who are screwing up this country, and I'm angry for them, for their own lives, because they're so stupid, or they've been so lulled into being so lame by the teachers who coddled them for a decade. It's not even their fault. Because I know if I was in school and they told me, oh, congratulations, here's your trophy for participation, here's your medal, I would not be the person I am today. I am the person I am today because when I lost, I went home and cried. And I was angry and I was pissed off at losing or getting beat up. And then I went and kicked the shit out of people. Or I went and won some game. It seems stupid, but this gets ingrained in your DNA. And Generation Y, the 70-80% of you have the loser gene. You're a bunch of losers. And this is what this program and my new mission in life is, to take the Generation Y losers and try to get you into that 20 or 30% of Generation Y people who are going to kick ass. Because guess what? You're going to work for them if they'll ever hire you. And they probably won't hire you because all your jobs are going to Asia, Philippines, Japan, Eastern Russian countries. If you don't get your shit together, Generation Y, I'm sorry I cursed twice in this episode. We're going to have to bleep it out. But if you do not get your shit together, it's over for you. Your standard of living is going to suck because you know what? Your mom and dad are going to die. And you know what you're going to have left? Nothing, because they mortgaged their houses. They got a bunch of cars and went on big fancy vacations. You get no inheritance, Generation Y, and you're not hireable. So you're going to fail, and you'll have nothing in life. And if you think that your standard of living sucks now, wait till mommy and daddy die and you have nobody to bail you out. Period. Generation Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Generation Farmville. Get off your asses and do something with your lives.
There's actually an interesting precedence to this, which is Japan, actually. And the generation, and this has been going on for about, 5-10 years over there, that they have this whole generation of people, and Japan's consistently 5-10 years ahead of the U.S. on this kind of social evolution curve. And the parents over there have just been freaking out, and the generation has this very kind of flippant, no ambition attitude, but they've been dealing with it for quite a while. I think they're just starting to come out of it.
Let me tell you some of these indicators that somebody is part of Generation Y. I mean, we should all discuss what are the red flags of Generation Y so they can stop presenting themselves as the lame, unhireable, unemployable doofuses they are. Number one, you do not get credit before you do the work. And what I mean by this is I've had people who I've tried to hire, like they come in for job interviews, and they would like to get some sort of title that is years beyond them. Or they would like to get some compensation that's years behind them. They want all the credit in the world before they've paid their dues. You know what Generation X got? You know what I got in my early days? I got a kick in the ass. Get back to work, shut up, put your head down. I mean, that's what it was like in the 80s, was it not? Were you employed during the 80s and 90s?
Yes.
I mean, you got a job. If you were lucky enough to get a job, they just told you, shut up and work hard. And this generation's like, oh, how many weeks vacation do I have? And, am I going to be the senior vice president? Who do I report to? Do not ask those questions on a job interview. Just come in and say, listen, I am going to kick ass for you. I will do whatever you tell me to do. I will work hard. What can I do to make this company, this organization successful? Because that's all I care about. And the meanness of this generation, of their personal fulfillment and their credit, and they want a pat on the back, it's outrageous.
Do you think, though, that maybe 20 years ago there was an emphasis on seniority?
Yes.
Right? And now people are rebelling against that. But what you're really arguing for is true meritocracy.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Whether you've been doing it for 20 years or whether you've been doing it for 2 years, what matters is the output. What matters is the effort, right?
Yes.
And so I'm just distinguishing slightly between generational issue.
Correct.
And there's a problem with the generation. They don't, have a good work ethic, and we should all be living in a world of meritocracy, which is my first job when I built my first company was right in that time where all of a sudden 25-year-olds were CEOs, and it was blowing up the world's view of everything.
The 90s were awesome.
Yeah.
That's what made us, we're going to be the greatest generation ever. Generation X will go down in history, except for the people who fought, the true greatest generation who actually put their asses on the line during World War II, fighting Nazis and all that other kind of stuff. I'll give them more credit than us. But we're going to change the world a lot more than any other generation, period. And for the better. And we're going to make tons of money, and we're going to be powerful, and that's all good. That's all virtuous. Because with money and power and status comes change, and you get to pick what the future is. The Generation Y that's growing up today, guess what? You're irrelevant. You're as irrelevant as people in China were 20 years ago who were at farms. Because that's what you're going to become. Because they're going to go down to factories, and they're going to start making better products than us and better services, and then you're going to be working for them, and you're going to be picking corn, or I don't know what you're going to do. Your jobs are not coming back.
Well,
but you're right. It is meritocracy is what Generation X clawed onto. And we were known as slackers, by the way.
Oh,
the term slacker was created for Generation X, correct?
True, but every generation has its view of a slacker, right?
Right.
I'm sure the James Deans of the world were slackers to the people that grew up in the 40s or whatever.
Yeah, they all had their own term, I guess.
But just sort of on this sort of point of like the game is over in Gen Y. The thing that's insulated Gen Y from from sort of really having these challenges you're talking about is the fact that we still have a monopoly on knowledge work. on expertise and on creative work
Yeah.
in the United States because of our educational system. And hopefully we'll talk about this later. I really fundamentally believe that crowdsourcing and expert sourcing is globalization knowledge work,
Yeah.
globalizing knowledge work. And when all of a sudden the thing that insulates your value in
Right.
your economy can be done for a quarter of the price by someone as qualified as you, who's sitting in an economy that requires 1/10 of the amount of money to live
Right.
the same lifestyle.
Your bell is rung.
That is a tough thing. And I think what Gen Y doesn't quite understand yet is 10 years from now, that will become common. In the same
99
way-
Designs. We
right.
talked about 99 Designs here, right? Crowdsourcing your logos.
Mm-hmm.
During Generation X, during the 90s, everybody's like, oh, I can just become a graphic designer and I'll make logos and I'll make $2,000 a logo or $5,000. Guess what? There's people who can do your job as good as you. I don't know where they are on 99 Designs. They could be Middle America. They could be China. They could be Malaysia,
Well, when
Manila.
we had him as a guest, he said the hottest earning guy is in Romania.
Right, in Romania, whatever. Where you're saying
Right.
the cost of living is much less, and
Yeah.
his output is better, and he's hungrier, or she's hungrier, whoever the person is.
I mean, like, for example, in South Africa, the poverty line is $1 or $1.50 a day, but 85% of the children are educated because of their educational system. So if they have access to technology and tools, and
Yeah,
their
guess what?
metric is $1.50 a day, they'll produce work, potentially, that we view as knowledge or creative-based work at a cost that, to them, is a higher upper middle class standard that's $3 an hour, right?
Yeah.
That's the interesting global imbalance that's occurring during this generation, which
Yeah.
I'm just throwing fuel onto your fire, saying if you don't realize that now and you're 20, 21 years old, you're in trouble when you're 29 years old.
I am basically trying to smack them in the head, and you're basically trying to say, sit down and listen for a second. And between the two of us, we have to get through to these people. I mean, I don't want everybody to say that Jason is saying Generation Y as a whole is a bunch of losers. I'm not saying that. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg is a winner. Obviously, the people on Hacker News, or the people who are building startups, the people who work at Dig, or who are ambitious, who work here at my company, Mahalo, or thisweekend.com, or whatever, these people are ambitious. But I'm talking about your contemporaries. The people who listen to the show, think about your contemporaries right now, and their desire to go to Costa Rica and go kite surfing versus their desire to increase their value and build a company or whatever it is. Because they're much more interested in saving X. And then when they go to want to save X, they don't actually do anything. That's the thing I find totally hypocrisy, the total hypocrisy of it. They all want to save the planet. They want green stuff. They also want their private jets, and they also want, maybe they don't want them. I don't know. But they don't do anything. So they say they want to help the world, but they're not actually doing anything. And by the way, if you think that because you recycle you're doing something, guess what? You're not. If you're recycling, you're not doing anything. The person who's doing something is the person who's launching a battery technology that's going to stop burning fuel, or somebody who comes up with technology for solar. Or those are the people who are going to have the massive impact. You using your plastic fork, that has no impact. That's the impact of an ant. Okay? You recycling your garbage every day means nothing. I know I'm going to get all these flames about it, but it does mean nothing compared to the person who figures out that we don't need to recycle, or that we can come up with some new technology for getting water from one place to the other, like desalination or something. Do something big. Be ambitious. Get money. Get power. Change the world. Watch the video. Watch the video. Please. I really.
Let me ask you this. So if
We
you're,
might be mic'd. Are we mic'd?
Drop your weapons. Gladiator, the Emperor has asked for you.
I'm at the Emperor's service.
Guys. Your fame is well-deserved, Spaniard. I don't think there's ever been a gladiator to match you. As for this young man, he insists you are Hector reborn. Or was it Hercules? Why doesn't the hero reveal himself and tell us all your real name? You do have a name.
My name is Gladiator.
How dare you show your back to me? Slave! You will remove your helmet and tell me your name.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true Emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
That is what you need, the killer instinct. You have to want to kill and murder and maim. Killer instinct. Oh. I'm sorry, I know it's a 20-minute rant. It has nothing to do with the show, but it has everything to do with the show. Tyler, any insights on this?
Oh boy, that's a can of worms there. Let me get back to you. I'm sure I can whip one up. Where to begin?
Yeah,
it's just a message to generate. And you know what? If you're a Generation Y person and you kick ass, which I'm assuming you do if you're watching this program, if you're part of that 25% who already kick ass, it is your duty, it is your honor, it is your duty to take this podcast and give it to your lame friends so that they can wake up and realize that they have no future unless they get their act together. Because their future is slipping away. All of their jobs, all of their opportunity is going. And the sooner they get a better degree in engineering, or they start working hard, or they start working weekends and putting in 60, 78 hours weeks to get their stuff together, it's over. And it's over for America if you guys don't get it together. This will be a dying nation. We got enough problems in this country based upon how people leverage themselves. But if you guys don't get your act together, and we don't have great entrepreneurs, and people want to work at startups and build more jobs, it's over for America. It'll be like Europe, negative GDP growth. Quality of life might be great for some people. You're not going to get jobs. We just heard it here. Anyway, let's go to Ask Jason. This has been a terrific or terrible rant, depending on who you are. All right, we have a caller.
Yes, you. Hello,
Jeff.
Jason.
Jeff, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Good. Have you been listening to the program?
Yeah, absolutely. For quite a while, in fact.
Oh, really? It's not your first show. You've listened to the show for a little while.
Yeah, been listening since probably episode 10 or so.
Oh, really?
Gary Vee stuff a while back, like a month ago, and then the episode with you talking about being a samurai and that kind of stuff.
Good, good. And do you have a favorite guest?
I don't actually have a favorite guest. I mean, I like Gary Vee a lot. I know people reference him all the time.
Sure.
He's got tons of energy, and I love that. But I find him slightly obnoxious.
I'll tell him you said.
You want people with that energy, obviously.
Yes, of course. So, did you hear my rant about Generation Y just now?
No.
Oh, you missed it. Okay, you were on hold. How old are you?
I'm 30.
You're 30. So then, what is that? Put them right on the. Are you consider yourself Gen Y or Gen X? Or you're on the bubble?
I'm on the bubble.
You're on the bubble. Well, obviously, you're calling to this program, so you're more Gen X than Gen Y. You have a question for us. You've got Neil here, who's a great entrepreneur who's built a couple companies. Ask us your question.
So my question is about actually doing the paperwork part of registering your business. When you start out, there's a number of different companies that offer services, such as online services where you can just fill out the online survey and they register your LLC or whatever for you. There's also, you could go the lawyer route, and then also you can get the files, get the paperwork filled out yourself, and just kind of do that. So my question is, what would be sort of like the recommended method?
Yes.
Why? That kind of stuff.
Okay. So you're talking about should you incorporate or not? And how do you incorporate? Should you use one of these online services? I guess LegalZoom does this, and there's all these other businesses online that do it. And they'll make an LLC for you, or a C corporation, or an S corporation. Or should you get a lawyer? The person who does it online maybe will cost them, I don't know, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, under $1,000, let's say. If you get a lawyer, maybe it will cost you $2,000 or $3,000. It's all basically in that same zone, but this is a question that gets people nervous. It made me nervous when I was starting my first companies. And you can make some mistakes in terms of tax and in terms of partnerships and if you have partners. So the first question you have to ask yourself is really two questions starting out. Is one, do you have partners or not? And two, have you done this before or not? And a third one is how much resources you have. So, and how big you think the company's going to get. So do you have partners or not?
I do not have partners. No.
If you don't have partners, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to worry about having an operating agreement and a stock agreement, who owns what. If you do have partners, you do need to worry about that. Who has stock? How much stock do they have? How does that stock vest? All those things come into play. So without them, you can just start an LLC or a C Corp, an S Corp, small corp, and pay one-time tax, which means the corporation, you don't pay double tax, the corporation pay tax, and you pay taxes, one-time flow-through tax, which you can talk to a lawyer about. And how big do you think the business is going to get? Is this a business you want to build into a venture-backed business? You want to have 10 employees? You want to try to raise money? Or do you not want to try to raise money?
Probably not in the first couple of years. Maybe grow it to about 20 people or so.
Okay, so if you're planning on potentially raising money and adding employees, it's worth doing it right. It's worth having a good attorney. You can do it without that, but then they're going to have to do some cleanup work eventually. What I suggest is you find a startup attorney and explain your situation to them. Hey, I'm a first-time entrepreneur. I don't have a lot of money. Would you meet with me? Because guess what? The guys at places like Wilson Sonsini or my lawyer Joey at Fortis, other firms like that, Oric, what are the other ones that?
Cooley. We use
Cooley is another big one. These firms will actually give you a discount, a break, if you are an ambitious young person. They want to work with you. They want to see you succeed so they can make money off you in the future. They want to build relationships early. What if you're the next Larry and Sergey from Google? You trust us. Maybe I get pre-IPO stock or whatever. So they're investing in you as a client. And you can say to them, I would like a flat rate for raising an angel round. And most of them will do it. And they'll do it on contingency, which means, and I have this credibility with attorneys, and I don't need to do it, but I'll say to them, I'm thinking about raising an angel round for this. As a matter of fact, I did this with This Week In. 6 months ago, I said, I think I'm going to make thisweekin.com into a company. I may raise an angel round. Can you set it all up? And will you do it on contingency? And my lawyer said, of course, we'll do a contingency for you, Jay. I said, no problem. Not that it matters. It's going to be $10,000 maybe to do an angel round. To do a venture capital round, maybe it's $25,000 to $40,000. And you have to maybe pay for your venture capitalists, lawyers, which is a little pain in the ass, so it might be double. But you can actually negotiate that up front. And having the counsel of a good lawyer is critical. Anything that is worth doing correctly. So if you're going to do a startup company, do it correct from the beginning. Worst case scenario, you wasted $1,000 or $2,000 incorporating correctly. Best case scenario, you don't have a $50,000 legal fee or, God forbid, a lawsuit over the IP in the company, the intellectual property of the company later on. You've done this a couple of times. What do you think?
I learned the right way and the hard way. There's two things in the beginning of a company you don't skimp on. One is legal formation, and the second is accounting. And that's everything. I've owned restaurants, I've owned concierge businesses, I've owned technology companies.
Why don't you skimp?
Because you will end up paying massively either to the government, who's collecting taxes from you when you do things incorrectly, or when you need to basically reincorporate in a different form, in a different format, and file, Reg D stuff and all sorts of other things you need to do. It is lawyers love to go and clean things up. It's very expensive to do that.
Yes.
You can file an LLC boilerplate with a little bit of recommendation for $500 to the state, depending on the state, plus $1,000 in legal fees on a standard op agreement and member manager agreements. Yeah. But going and then converting that into an S corp, right?
Yep.
Is going to cost you $6,000.
Right. So you might as well pay the money to get your counsel correct and do it correct. Now, I do use LLCs from time to time for my side projects, so Calacanis conferences or other things I've started. Open Angel Forum is an LLC because I own it, I control it. I may have a partner on, who knows, down the road. TechCrunch 50 was an LLC that Mike Arrington and I co-own. But if you're going to have a company that's going to raise money and have multiple shareholders, you're going to want to go the S or C Corp route, and you can read the differences between those two things. It's essentially the same, except in the S Corp it means small, I think, and that means you pay one-time tax, not two-time tax, which you can Google all that. And
there's a limit on investors, right?
What's that?
I think there's also a limitation on investors.
500 or something?
One's 32 and one's 500 or something like that.
Exactly. So there's a number of investors you have that's recommended. What you really want to do, though, is getting a lawyer is you get more than just a lawyer. And I mean, I don't want to sit here and stump for lawyers because, you know, nothing makes me furious like a legal bill. I mean, every third legal bill I argue with my lawyer, like, can you give me a break? And he's like, Jason, why do you need a break? You know, he does, but he's pretty good about it. And I, you know, with my people here, I'm like, record the amount of time you're on the phone with the attorney, and do not call the attorney without consulting me first. Like, that's our rule here, all my companies. Do not call the attorney, do not email the attorney without telling me explicitly why, because I don't want to have that hour and a half. Because you may have a 15-minute question that I can answer. You know what I'm saying? So you have to know when to use an attorney, when not. The time to use an attorney is when you're forming a company. Is there anything else we can help you with, Jeff?
I think that covers it. Thanks very much.
Okay. And where were you calling from?
I'm actually calling from Chicago.
Ah. How are your Bulls doing?
You know, I'm more of a Sox fan. I don't really follow basketball.
How's that going?
Well, you know.
Exactly.
Chicago.
Yeah. Go Yankees.
Every year you keep coming back.
Go Yankees. All right.
Yeah.
Good talking to you. Take care. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
That's a good question. It's a basic question everybody has.
I think the interesting one is also on the other side that I mentioned about accounting. I've gotten into more trouble by not having a relatively good accountant who's, you know, 25, 30, 40 bucks an hour.
Yes.
Start doing accounting correctly from day one.
From day one, you have to have your books correct. Because going backwards, oh, maron.
That, I have gone through literally boxes of employee records with the Massachusetts tax authority during winding down a restaurant.
Such a waste of time.
And I can tell you who pays the money. It comes directly out of your pocket.
It just sucks. I mean, it's like so much wasted time. So you really want to have your accounting done perfectly from the first day. A bookkeeper costs, like you said, 20 to 40 an hour. Mm-hmm. And if you just go on Craigslist and say, I'm looking for a bookkeeper, I need 3 references. Call the references. Because if your bookkeeper screws up, or if they're, God forbid, and this has happened to many people, including Mark Cuban, they had somebody, one of his first companies, he tells the story sometimes, somebody ran out with $90,000 or something, the bookkeeper. So you want to check references, do a background check, see a driver's license, all those things.
Yeah.
Make sure they're certified public accountant, all these basic things. But calling free references is a great way to do it. And you want to make sure those references are actual real references, that's a phone number you can look up, and that they have a direct line in the name of their company, not that it's routing to someone of their friends. If they give you any bunk about getting a reference, then you can just toss them aside because there's millions of other great bookkeepers. I've got 2 great bookkeepers here who've done amazing jobs for me. QuickBooks, whatever, it's easy.
Peachtree
QuickBooks, you're fine. Yeah. And learn how to read those statements, and always sign your own checks. That's my other rule. I sign all my checks, and then every company, at some point, the company gets to a certain size, and go, oh, how about we have somebody else sign the checks? Or how about we get one of those stamps? No. I love having to sign the checks. I mean, I hate signing checks, but I love the review process and thinking about it. Okay, money's going out. Where's the money coming in?
I sign every check except for my own expense reports, which someone countersigns for me.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so the next part of the program is Jason Shark Tank. This is where somebody pitches us, and I'd like to thank WebSpy. What great guys there are at WebSpy. Monitor all kinds of server activity from employee internet access to email servers to web hosts, analyze for traffic levels, patterns, errors, and more. It is a total log analysis solution. And you want to know what's going on your network. It's basic 101. When was Jack on? What episode was that?
Jack Andes?
Jack Andes.
20s, I would say.
Look it up, maybe.
Yeah,
I know you're sitting there, Tyler, you're so busy, but I mean, it would be good people know the exact episode. Then I can tell them, go. You can actually, Jack was on the show, and you should go watch the show he was on. You can see what a great guy this is. You hear about his company. WebSpy, thank you to WebSpy. You like how I do the advertisements?
Very good.
He was on episode 31.
Very old school.
That's what I think. I think this is what advertising needs, a little old school pitchman. And we only pick advertisers we like. We have only 3 or 4 advertising slots on the thing. People buy them for 20 episodes at a time. That's 20 weeks. It's almost half the year. They sell out, and that's it. Game over. WebSpy is one of those great companies. They've been with us from the beginning, and they told me they'll be with us to the end. Which, depending on what happens, this might be the last show. No, I don't think it's going to be. But we're going to have a 50th episode. Speaking of sponsors, Microsoft has been incredible. Microsoft Bing has been an incredible sponsor. They now say they're going to host the 50th episode on their campus in the Valley. So I'm going to come up to Palo Alto, wherever they are. Is it Palo Alto?
Yes.
Sunnyvale?
Sunnyvale, yeah.
Sunnyvale. Somewhere. And I'm going to give people who are the super fans of the show a free ticket. And the super fans are going to get together for the 50th episode. It's going to be some huge, crazy thing. And Microsoft's got a lot of money. I don't know if they're going to give a Zune to everybody, but they may give Bing access to everybody. So you may all get your own Bing account.
Oh.
It would be incredible of them to give you a Bing account.
I've been looking for one of those passes for a while.
Yes, you can get an exclusive invite to Bing. I'm going to tell them they should give a Zune or an Xbox to everybody. Wouldn't that be incredible? Like Oprah, look under your seat, there's an Xbox. All right, so let's do the Shark Tank.
I need money. That's what I want. That's
Okay, Thomas.
That's what I want. What I want. That's what I want.
Okay, Thomas from the 404. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Is the 404 like a Skype, or is that an actual zip code from a real location on the planet Earth?
Well, I used to live in Atlanta, but I'm actually in Santa Monica. I'm just down the street from you guys.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
That's very disturbing.
I'm on Colorado Avenue.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
you're on Colorado. Okay, very good. But you used to be from Hotlanta?
Well, I'm originally from Denmark, but I had a 4-year stint in Atlanta.
Oh, I see. So you're Denmark via Hotlanta. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know the rules of Shark Tank. Tyler, you of course know the rules. Neil, the way it works is they're going to pitch for up to 60 seconds. We have the clock set at 1 minute. We're going to listen to this pitch, and then everybody in the chat room is going to listen to the pitch, and we're all going to grade the pitch and give 2 numbers. 1 is the pitch, 2 is the idea. So I want everybody to type into the chat room pitch, a number from 1 to 10, and I want everybody to type idea, 1 to 10. You understand? Tyler, you understand? Thomas, you understand?
Yeah.
So there's no pressure, of course. We only have 500 people watching live and 75,000 people download every episode, including very notable angel investors and venture capitalists. It's not like this is your one shot in life, but it's probably the best one you'll have. So, no pressure. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, go.
All right. The product is called One Login, and it's a single sign-on solution for companies that operate in the cloud. One Login is pre-integrated with over 400 web applications, such as Salesforce, NetSuite, Google Apps, GoToMeeting, Zendesk, and TechCrunch 50 winner Yammer, as well as most of This Week Insider sponsors, actually. One Login can integrate with virtually any application using SAML, OpenID, or integrating with the login page. As companies move into the cloud, securing their sensitive data becomes absolutely critical because no one wants a Twitter security blunder. One Login gets your company up and running in a matter of minutes and gives your employees secure one-click access to other apps. One Login can integrate with your internal directory so you can keep on managing users there. And you can control password strength and 2-factor authentication, as well as integrate with any in-house web applications. In short, One Login is the best solution for securing your company's data in the cloud, as well as giving everyone easy and convenient access to their apps.
This was a great pitch. Wow. Really well done. I'm going to go immediately to the chat room. Let me see your votes, your comments. I see pitch 8, idea 7. Pitch 7, idea 7. Pitch 9, idea 3. Pitch 7, idea 4. Idea 10, pitch 7. Pitch 9, idea 4. Pitch 9, idea 7. 9, 7, 8, 8. Wow. You got great scores. I loved the pitch because it was very clear what you did, I thought. I didn't hear how you make money, but I'm sure you can get to that. I got the idea that this is a much more secure way to log in, and maybe this replaces the login system that Mahalo currently has.
Exactly.
And we use your login system for some reason, and it's better, more secure, less, I guess, like you referenced the Twitter problem, like maybe you're talking about phishing. I think the only, and I love the way when you pitched, you mentioned that some of your customers were sponsors of the show, and Yammer, so you sort of knew your audience, which is a really good one. Neil, what did you think of the pitch and the idea? Oh, and so I give you on your pitch like an 8, and I think on the idea, I feel like a 7 or 8. Neil, what do you say?
I heard it slightly differently,
yeah.
Which was we have all these services running in the cloud. Take, for example, even my marketing department that's trying to log into Google Analytics and Salesforce.com and the other tools and technologies they use, Constant Contact, et cetera. And that rather than try to sort of hand manage, departmental accounts, you can actually sort of hook your traditional, local account management stuff directly into sort of this middleman broker, if you will, to those cloud services. And if people come and go, they leave, they use bad passwords, things like that. You kind of make the whole sort of corporate account password thing more.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Oh, now I like it even more. Now I understand. So I was a little confused. Thank you for clearing that up, Neil.
I do my best.
Well, just as an example, what we can see that when you move into the cloud, everyone needs to have a Trada strategy. Everything you do in marketing is on the cloud. And people can't remember the passwords. Our customers typically have between 15 or 25 different applications. No one can handle that. So we can give you one strong password to all your other passwords, and then you don't really need to know your passwords to Salesforce or Google Apps or anything like that.
I love it.
We literally just had this conversation in our company because we have 75 different apps that we use, and we just hired a number of new people. And we're going back and changing, everything to much more strong passwords. And
somebody leaves the company and they know the global password.
And also, I literally changed my password so that our social media director could log into my LinkedIn and do something to it to put in a widget, and then I had to change my password back again.
I've had that happen too.
Yeah, and because you need people to collaborate on all the, your account is now part of the corporate account.
Right.
So, to answer your original question, I think pitch, as I heard it, 8, 9. I think I totally understood it. Idea without understanding the model, somewhere between a 7 and an 8. Totally understand the need.
Yeah.
Which is
so
half the battle.
Now I feel like since I didn't understand the pitch, I get like a 2 for being the guy receiving the pitch. I'm a 2 as an angel investor. I'm a 2 as an angel investor. You're a 7 for your pitch. I take 1 point away, but I'm going to move that point over to your idea and make your idea at 9. Tyler, what'd you give it? Let me see some scores up front.
Pitch 7.5, idea 8, leaning towards 8.5.
Okay, so this is a great idea. So let me see if I can ask you a follow-up question here. If I am a company, I am a company, I have a couple companies, and I want to set all the company passwords. So I set all the company passwords, to Twist, I love Twist, whatever. Now, do my employees have to know that that's the password, or do I give them the global password? And then that.
Well, they don't. Well, they don't actually need to know their password. And even better, some of the applications we integrate with support OpenID, and that only allows us to log people in without even having a password to that application, where we are actually authorizing the access. So with one login, you see all your applications on a dashboard. And if I want to log into Mahalo or Google Apps or ClickChart, Chartbeat or something like that, I just click on that app, and then either it logs people in using SAML or OpenID that don't require a password, or it uses the password that we have stored in the cloud. That could be a very long, complex password that no one needs to remember. And then, of course, it's very secure, and you get a very smooth user experience. And the benefit that people often don't think about is you don't even have to remember any URLs.
Yeah.
I mean, we use 25 different apps in our company.
I love this.
And I can't possibly remember all those.
And so it's free for a user. Like, so if the people watching now want to go there, they can get it for free as an individual.
Well, we have a free plan where you can sort of kick the tires, but this is really aimed at businesses. There's a lot of alternative solutions for individuals. It's really the companies that will benefit from this.
I see. So Yammer is using it for internally.
Right.
Right. Got it.
To access their applications.
This is a very interesting idea. And how long has the company been around? Did you raise money for it? What's the story?
Well, we founded the company April last year. I actually co-founded with my brother, which is the best thing I've ever done. And we started a public beta in October and started billing customers in, I think, beginning of February. So we've been officially live for a couple of months, and we took some seed financing from some private investors.
Really? Anybody I would know, or?
No, probably not. They're not well known, but they keep a low profile.
So you raised an angel round.
Yeah, small.
All right. This is interesting. And are you going to raise more money? Are you going to go to Open Angel Forum or something like that? What's the outlook for the company?
Yeah, we are looking to raise more money.
Okay.
And
I'm interested. Talk to Tyler at mahalo.com if you want to set up a meeting. Since you're up the block, you come by. Mahalo's got organic lunch. Chef Jen cooks a lunch every day. Or if you come at 3 o'clock, we'll have the cut fruit here at Mahalo. I see you got a little bit of coverage. And I just did a little search for you guys. Everybody can follow OneLogin at onelogin.com. Or you can go to Twitter and just type in Twitter/OneLogin. You did a great job on the program. Any feedback? Any other feedback, guys? Any feedback from the what do you call that? Peanut Gallery, the Ustream Peanut Gallery. There's a little delay on the chat, but people are really talking about your idea, and they like it. Interesting.
That's great.
Okay.
Well,
you did a good job.
Thanks for the opportunity.
So wait, you say you're from Denmark? You're from Copenhagen?
Yeah, I am.
Every time I meet somebody from Copenhagen, I use the same line. You ever eat those brown bread sandwiches, the open brown bread sandwiches?
And I agree with David, who was on your show last week.
Yeah, Edith Davidson.
Yeah, she's the most well-known, but she's not the best. But,
so Edith Davidson, not the best.
Pretty good.
Which is exactly the same thing.
She has a strong brand, but there's some other ones that I'll take you to one when if you're in Denmark or something.
Well, this is interesting because now you're the second person from Copenhagen who has said that Ida Davidson is the most well-known, but not actually the best. Interesting. You've been to Ida Davidson?
I have not. I just thought it was funny that like literally it was the same, expatriate slogan about.
My friend, anyway, I have some friends in Denmark. That's like one of my favorite countries to go to. Countries are becoming companies anyways. It's not even a slip up. It's more like a Freudian eventuality instead of a slip. All right, and so you're here in Los Angeles. Do you have a vendor of the brown bread? Do you know where to get the good brown bread in LA?
Yeah, you can actually get Whole Foods and World Market carry it.
Huh.
They have it's called Schwarzbrot, so they have a German version of it. It's exactly the same.
You call me a Schwarzbrot? Schwarzbrot.
Schwarzbrot.
Schwarzbrot?
Black bread.
Black bread. Schwarzbrot bread. Okay.
Yeah, black bread, exactly.
I like it. All right, good job. Thank you for calling in, and I will see you at the Mahalo offices, hopefully. It's a very interesting idea. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
Awesome. See, this is it. The whole show is a front for angel investing, right, Tyler?
I asked him last night when I called him up. My first question was, "Are you looking to raise money on this?" Yeah.
Because we got Open Angel Forum next week in New York.
Yes.
How is that looking?
Awesome. Now over 100 applicants.
Over 100 applicants for New York.
Broke 100 last night.
And I'm going to go through the top
15
on Monday night.
Correct.
With Brian Alvey
and Charlie. With Brian and Charlie. Yeah.
And then we leave on Thursday.
Yeah.
Virgin America, the only airline we fly if we have a choice because it's got Wi-Fi. JetBlue used to be my favorite. Southwest, I like you guys too. No Wi-Fi, no JC. JCal is off, right?
Yeah, and you got the sunglasses last time.
I got the sunglasses. That was JCal got game. There was a Banana. This is one of the best marketing things I've ever seen. There was a Banana Republic. They dressed one of the flight attendants.
They're getting their money's worth now.
In Banana Republic.
Yeah.
Stuff.
This is the VA.
This is on Virgin America, which is the greatest airline because they have Wi-Fi. They also have the yogurt parfait and those little chocolate.
The cookies too.
And the chocolate chip cookies, which are all excellent. And my trick is you go sit in row 3. They call it like
Business Select.
Business Select. It's like $50 or $100 more, but you get unlimited food and free movies. And so when I get on the flight, even when we take a short one, the first thing I do is order 2 boxes of cookies, 2 of the chocolate bars, and 2 of the Illy espressos. Right there, I'm making $20 back. I put that right in my bag. Then I have Tyler do it, and I take it from Tyler. Tyler works for me, so I'm like, hey, Tyler, you got to order this stuff. And then Tyler's embarrassed. He has to order it. He takes it for himself. But then if it's a 5-hour flight, I do it again towards the end of the flight. And the person's like, oh, my God, what are you doing? But anyway, they were giving away, they had a Banana Republic woman, they had a flight attendant dressed in Banana Republic. It's a very beautiful dress. And she comes down and she says, oh, who wants a free pair of sunglasses? We're going to give away 20 pairs of free sunglasses. Just type something clever to chat. And so I said, oh, is that Banana Republic at her dress? And she said, yeah, it is. And I said, it looks like Versace on you. And she went, boom, big smile. And she leans over my ear and she goes, you're getting a pair of sunglasses. It's nice to know you still got a little game.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm out of the game for a long time now, but it's nice to know you have a little game.
Impressed.
Tyler was impressed. And let me tell you something. Tyler has incredible game.
He looks like he has incredible game.
Ridiculous.
Not yet to be caught on camera, but
I actually have, I do have those photos.
You have one photo.
I do have one photo, which is pretty damning evidence, but it is from a number of years ago.
Is it true that on VA though? So my friend like Matt Cutler talks about VA all the time, right?
Yeah.
And his whole justification for VA is that they were smart enough to basically put a water bottle dispenser at the back. So if you wanted a water bottle, you just walk up and like open it and take a water bottle. And if you took 2, nobody cares.
They treat you like an adult, correct?
They treat you like an adult. This is the exact point, which is why you should fly Virgin Atlantic.
This is the thing. With these airlines, they basically, I have a theory. if you are not in first class, and let me tell you something, I spent 9/10 of my life not in first class or business. And even to this day, I'm kind of cheap. I don't do it all the time. Or business class, whatever. They treat you, I think, on regular airlines, American, Delta, they treat the masses in coach poorly so that the people in first feel better about themselves. And so that people are motivated to be in those first class because they are so snippy with you in coach. And they just, oh, no, we can't get you a drink now. You have to sit. Then you're in first class, and they're like, oh, yeah, you want a drink? Or, oh, the FAA rules, you're going to get your bag. I'll get that for you. Oh, don't worry about your seat being back a little bit. So when you're in first class, if your seat's back, they don't say anything. When you're at 2 rows back, if your seat's back like a millimeter, they bang it, boom, they're walking by. Let me get that for you, boom, and they just shake it. You ever had them do that?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I'm a big boy. I didn't put my seat back. You got some OCD about the seat being back because the last person left it back a micron, and then they bang it, and they do it for you. It's so obnoxious. So obnoxious. Anyway. You're right about now, you're going, why did I agree to be on this program? This is insane.
I'm just saying.
I thought we were going to talk about technology.
You've got JetBlue on the East Coast. I got Frontier in Denver. So
is Frontier good?
I fly Frontier religiously.
Really?
Although they have a little bit slid towards the United scale that you're talking about. They used to be super awesome, and now
it's deteriorating a little bit.
Yeah, I started flying Southwest. Starts flying out of Denver. So
yeah, they started it. We took Southwest. We went to Denver.
It took me 3 tries the first time to figure out the boarding. I'm not that smart.
Southwest has got an interesting boarding procedure. It used to be a free-for-all, and then they were like, let's give people a letter.
Yeah.
And a number.
And apparently the only letter I ever get is C43.
I have a tip for you.
Right.
If you spend
pay like $20, right?
$10, I think it is each way, you get to get on first. This is critical if you've got to get off the plane quickly, or if you like an aisle seat, or if you like to have your luggage not checked for you, because all their flights are packed. That's why it's so cheap. So you just pay the extra $10. You get on the flight first. You take row 2 or row 3 the aisle, because then you can't take row 1 because you have nothing to put on. You can't put your bags under it, unless you don't mind your bag not being under and you want the leg room. But if you are like me and you've got to have your bag in easy reach as quick as possible, and you can't wait for them to, the extra 5 minutes to get your bag, you get row 2 aisle seat. I'm the first guy off the plane. The second they hit that thing, I'm like, I got my bag, boom, I'm off. And that's the problem, is if you get stuck in the back in the middle seat, it may take you 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes to get off the flight. But they're nice on Southwest. I like them. If they had Wi-Fi, it'd be perfect.
It works.
Somebody needs to do free Wi-Fi on all flights. Whoever does free Wi-Fi on all flights, I guarantee they will become the #1 airline.
Didn't Google sponsor Wi-Fi? And
they did. It was brilliant.
For a while. At airports, that's what it was.
Well, the airports,
was
actually, they did it on the flights and at airports over Christmas. That was really smart.
Yeah.
Denver's got a pretty cool startup scene. Boulder, I should say specifically.
Which is an interesting subject in of itself, the difference between Boulder, Denver, and the Denver Tech Center, which are like, Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska.
What are the companies that have come out of Boulder? Who's there now?
So there was probably 3 big waves. The first wave was all the storage technology companies. So you have like Storage Tech, Exabyte, all those players that were the first big sort of tech people that dropped into town.
That was like late 80s, early 90s?
That was late 80s, early 90s, that's right.
I actually remember these companies.
Yeah, and some of the, Storage Tech is part of Sun, is part of Oracle now, right? So some of the players from those days, like Jesse Ueda and things like that, are still banging around Boulder, right? The guys that started those companies. Then there was Wave 2, and Wave 2 was somewhat synchronous with, and maybe sounds like I'm giving him too much credit, but with Brad Feld's arrival in Colorado.
Absolutely.
He did a lot to bring in, partially because he was part of SoftBank at the time, and had a couple $1 billion behind him. He did a lot to bring companies into Boulder, and I was part of an import there. I came from Boston into Boulder in 1998, and a number of us built companies that did well in the bubble. If you will. So Service Metrics, which was the company that I built, we sold, and then like 3 days later, Blue Mountain Arts sold, if you remember that.
Blue Mountain Arts was
Jared Polis.
$2 billion in Excite?
They were $800 million to Excite.
To Excite.
Mine was $280 to Exodus.
Wow.
Right. All stock. Important point.
Yeah.
Important point in 1999.
Feel your pain.
Yeah. No. Oh, no.
No, it went up. Lockup period, what?
we went up like 5x, and we came out of lockup like 3 months before it crashed.
Genius.
Life is good. So,
life is good.
But to answer your question, so Service Metrics, there was Blue Mountain Arts, there was like High Ground Software, there was like just a bunch of kind of enterprise software-y stuff.
Yeah.
And then everything kind of went quiet in the middle of the 90s. And
you mean the end of the 90s, early 2000s?
Sorry, excuse me, middle of the 2000s.
Middle of the 2000s.
Excuse me. And then
which it did everywhere, right?
Yeah, it did everywhere. And then some of the old guard, like the kind of the people like myself that have been there for 10 years, and some newer folks related to Techstars and a lot of this stuff that's going on, have started this new raft of companies that have really reignited the Boulder scene. And you have great companies like Legit, and the display, you know, if you know Walter and Todd, awesome guys. You have people that have come out of Techstars that are being funded, like Filterbox that got bought by Jive, or Next Big Sound.
Yep.
You have, you know, we could list all the Techstars companies, but there's other good companies that were funded, like another firm, Vista. You know, they just exited MX Logic. They just exited.
So why do people?
Nimsoft. I mean, crazy stuff.
What is it about the play? I mean, I know Brad was there, so Brad brought the money, which and he sort of really incubated stuff, and then you have David Cohen doing that now with Techstars. And of course, we had Brad Feld on the program, episode number. Somebody tell me, I can't remember. We have to memorize these things.
Because you need a statistician, like in baseball,
yeah.
right?
Or somebody who has. It would be great if I had somebody in here who was like a commentator on the show who just knew the numbers. Tyler.
Number 35.
Number 35. You can go back and listen to
January 17th.
Twist 35. Thank you. How critical was the sort of group of people who made some money to angel invest? Brad Feld, David Cohen. How critical are those to sort of making Boulder what it is?
I think there's two things that happened synchronously. Actually, three things that happened synchronously that were really important. One is the early wave, kind of that second wave, the Service Metrics, Blue Mountain Arts, the middle of the 90s wave, stayed in Boulder.
Right.
They stayed in Boulder and they brought some of their money back to the table. Another great example would be like Howard Diamond, who did corporate software, you know, for $1 billion to level 3, and he's been in Boulder ever since. And so there was just a lot of people that were in the tech industry, very sophisticated, not myself included, other people that started doing a lot of angel investing. That was one thing that happened. The second thing is that Brad brought SoftBank, which became Mobius, which had a big office, incubator, et cetera. And then there was this huge growth in investment. There was iBelay, there was Fast Ideas, if you remember Pete Essler. There was, you know, Vista got started, Appian got started. There's a whole bunch of funds that got started. You have some of the older ones like Meritage and Centennial and things like that. But there all of a sudden was a self-sustaining venture economy. Sequel was, you know, on their second and third fund locally in Boulder. And then the third thing that happened is that, and we were actually talking about this earlier on, there's these sort of second-tier cities that at the end of the 90s started to claw into existence. So do you remember like the Silicon Prairie, which I think was Austin, right? So Boulder was Silicon Flatirons or something, I forget what it was called, for Silicon Front Range. And there was
this all happened because I started Silicon Alley Reporter, and then everybody was like, oh, we have to have Silicon Alley because if you put a name on it, it's successful.
That's right. So there was like maybe 3 or 4, you know, Research Triangle Park became, you know, all that kind of stuff. For whatever reason, and I think because of this infrastructure that Brad had been very cognizant of building, when everything got wiped out in the apocalypse, Boulder was really the only second-tier city that survived. And what started to happen was that the coastal VCs started to look at Boulder and realize there was a much more cost-effective dynamic to building companies there, which is a whole conversational thread we can go down if you want, building companies in different places. But and you now see a lot of people from the East Coast and West Coast firms hanging out at Trada.
Yeah.
And they're there looking at deals.
I know when I was there, I check in with GoWalla. I see Stuart Alsop was there a week or two before me. And so I get set up, like they say, oh, meet these 5 companies. You're one of them. We start going to meet the 5 companies. Every company I go to check in, Stuart Alsop's been there. I'm like, Jesus, another angel investor is basically, you know, cased the town for me.
Brad's like VC venture travel, right, into Boulder.
And it's a nice place to go.
It's great. I mean, how hard is it to convince someone from, you know, name a firm, Polaris, Trinity, whatever, to come hang out in Boulder for 2 days?
It's awesome.
Right.
And the kitchen, you got that great restaurant by Kimball Musk.
Yeah, which one of my claims to fame is I opened the restaurant that was there before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which clearly didn't do very well.
Well, there you go. But
nice place. I forgot to mention One Ride. I just was with
One Ride, another one.
Yeah, big stuff.
So now, I want to talk also about this. being in a second-tier city? Because I get that a lot. Like, hey, you have Mahalo in Los Angeles. Is that a good thing or a bad thing not being in the Valley? First-time entrepreneur, second-time entrepreneur, I think it sort of makes a difference where you look at your company. If you're counseling you when you started your career and you're starting your first company, you tell yourself at that point, Boulder, Austin, New York, Valley, Los Angeles, and then what would you tell somebody after they have 2 or 3 startups under their belt?
It's funny. I just had this discussion. So, I got I started a long time ago doing tech stuff, but I was at MIT, and so I was in the Boston technology scene, and I kicked and screamed to move to Boulder. I did not, Colorado was the place that I would fly over as I would go home to California.
Sure, flyover state.
So every once in a while, I just dropped in and stayed. But I've been there for a long time, and about a year ago, I worked with a fraternity brother of mine who was at MIT and then HBS to get a company funded, company called VigLink, that first round in Google, and Reid Hoffman, a bunch of people put money into.
VigLink.
VigLink with a V.
Vig.
VIGLANK.
I've heard of this. What is it?
They automatically affiliatize your links on your blog, so you don't have to sign up for all the programs. They do it all for you, like 7,500 merchants.
There was another. I
told you about this. Skimlinks is their
Skimlinks
competitor.
is a competitor. We tried Skimlinks.
Kill me for saying that, but
no, it's okay. I mean, it's a good space. VigLink and Skimlinks. We tried Skimlinks. The only problem was 99% of our stuff came from Amazon and eBay, and it was like, oh, well, we can program this for us, but it's better for the dude market or like a smaller website where you don't have the time.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is to reduce the friction. If you've already got an Amazon program, it skips over it. So,
analytics
awesome
pretty
stuff,
good.
Growing very quickly.
How are they doing?
But they're doing great.
So they take a piece of the affiliate.
They take 25% of the affiliate stuff, but they do everything else for you.
Right.
And the cool thing is you don't have to do anything. You don't have to rewrite your links, nothing. You just link and it does it.
I would use one of these services if they made it 5% or something, 10%.
For you, he would probably make it 5 or 10%.
But he really, Skimlinks wouldn't. So
Really?
I kicked him out.
Oh,
Remember that,
well,
Tyler?
I'm sure Oliver is sending an email right now.
No, honestly, this is what I tell the Skimlinks guys. They were like, oh, try it. So we try it. It works okay. I mean, it was, like I said, it was, but I would have maybe considered it. So I told him, I tell you what, we do, whatever, $250,000, $500,000 a year in Amazon stuff. Do it for free for us. I'll do a press release for maybe 5%. And they're like, no, we can't do that. I was like, great. I turned it off.
I have a feeling you'll get more agreeable
Wasn't that a
terms.
weird negotiation with Skimlinks?
Well, at that point in time...
Then they kept us in their investor presentation.
Right. At that point in time, they were the only business that was in that general area. VigLink is much newer and much, in my view, more interesting. But what I wanted to say, though, is I had this big discussion with Oliver about moving to Boulder or moving to San Francisco.
Right.
He just really wanted to build a business in San Francisco. I totally was respectful of that. A lot of our fraternity brothers are out there. He had a network there. He didn't have one in Boulder. And it's been really fascinating building my company, Trada, in Boulder, that I'm a CEO of, and also being on the board of and helping Oliver build his company in San Francisco, and seeing the pluses and minuses. And the biggest minus of San Francisco, in my view, is it is obnoxiously expensive.
Obnoxiously expensive. To be an individual there, to hire somebody, to rent an office, to get a cup of coffee, anything.
You name it. I mean, so what ends up happening is, we funded both actually Trada and VigLink with very specific financing strategies. And I financed $50 million of financings, and this one's very, very different. And we did it the same way, but the amount of money that we raised literally is going twice as far in the Boulder just economy versus doing it in San Francisco. And there's nothing that Oliver or VigLink is doing wrong. It's just the cost of playing the game.
Yeah.
Right? And that's more
everything
than
is absurdly expensive. If you want to get a receptionist in San Francisco, it's $60,000 or $70,000.
If you want to get a senior
and
engineer,
they want 2%.
If you want to get a senior engineer, it's in the six-figure range. They got 17 job offers at
and
least.
they could be at Google.
Yeah.
So a senior engineer.
The demand is so high for good talent.
So let's take a senior engineer, 5 to 10 years experience. Is that what that means? 7 to 10? I don't know.
It's called 5 to 7 years of experience.
5 to 7 years experience in Boulder versus in ballpark figures.
Well, really experienced people in Boulder, depending on the type of company you work at, are going to make, the range is pretty broad, 60 to 120.
Right.
What's interesting is that people understand the trade-off of environment, equity, et cetera, on that scale, right? In something like San Francisco, you're not even going to get below 90, and they're going to have an expectation of something dramatic on the equity side or on the bonus package side or whatever the case may be. And that's just because the market is so
frothy.
So frothy, that's right. And that's not the talent in Boulder is absolutely equivalent to the talent in San Francisco. Just the number of startup opportunities in Boulder, although it's growing, I think at a somewhat exponential rate, is a fraction. Yeah. So your ability to kind of negotiate for a similar cultural experience and equity experience, and therefore better salary, is more limited just because there's less opportunities. There's only 6 companies hiring in Boulder.
You're not going head to head with Facebook and Google and Yahoo. Although Google's got an office somewhere there, right?
They do. They bought something. What did they buy? They bought something down the street and they set up shop. They're actually hiring like crazy. But if you like walk down Bryant Street in San Francisco, you literally could hand a resume into every other building.
It's interesting. It's sort of like Palo Alto and University. It's a University Avenue of Boulder.
Yeah. So which is, VigLink is on Bryant Street. So that's how I know.
There you go. Yeah. So let's talk about your company, Trada.
Sure.
I was very impressed by this. Tell the audience, what is the basic premise of the company? It just launched 2 weeks ago, I think.
So we launched publicly 2 weeks ago. We've actually been working on the company, started it 18 months ago, and have been running the actual application for 15 of those 18 months. So when we launched, we had 75 customers and revenue and all sorts of great stuff. This was just more of a market launch than a product launch. The premise of Trada is simply that running paid search campaigns, Google AdWords, Yahoo Search Marketing, Bing, Ad Center, for a small and medium-sized business, someone spending $1,000 to $50,000 a month in paid search, is not intellectually complicated, but incredibly time-consuming and complex to do well.
It's hard.
It's hard.
So explain to the audience what paid search means, because there might be some people, SEM, search engine marketing, and paid search. People don't always know what that means. They know what SEO means, search engine optimization.
Sure.
I get myself ranked in the top 10 in Google, Bing, or Yahoo. What does SEM, paid search, mean?
So paid search in general is the process of going to a search engine and saying, when someone types in, let's say they type in startup webcasts, right? I would like to put my ad next to the results. And at the top and at the side, you see what's called sponsored links, and those are paid advertisements. And the agreement that you have with the search engine is that when someone clicks on that advertisement, you pay whatever you've bid to the search engine. Multiple people will want to appear on the same search term, and so Google et al. Runs essentially an auction where the highest bidder gets the highest position and therefore the most clicks. And what you bid is the price you pay per click. You could pay anything from 20 cents a click up to, I think,
mesothelioma.
Mesothelioma is like $98 now.
Right.
Right, $98 a click. So if you want to go spend a lawyer's money, type in mesothelioma and just start clicking on stuff.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. We're not allowed to do that.
Well, some people do that with their competitors. They type in their competitors and they...
Google and everybody is much smarter.
Much better.
To know that those are, they don't charge their customers for those things.
So basically, I'm a small plumber in Boulder, and I want Boulder plumber, and there's 20 of us competing for it.
Right.
And I decide I'm going to spend 75, but I don't know that you can also do pipe bursting or bathroom install or the other things.
So here is the challenge of why this is hard. That's not very intellectually complicated to say, okay, I get that. Here's a term I want, here's what I pay for it. The challenge, though, is that Google and Yahoo and everybody else runs a separate auction on every single term that someone could type in. So as an advertiser, if you're a plumber in Boulder, you've got to go bid on Boulder plumbers, Boulder water problems, Boulder water damage, fix my pipes, who fixes pipes in Boulder.
Plumber zip code number 1.
Plumber 80302, plumber 80302.
And if you're in California and you have people who are Spanish or people from Korea or K-Town here, they might be typing it in Korean, they might be typing it in Spanish.
Absolutely, right. So when you take a look, even for a small business, at the number of keywords are search terms that can exist, it's thousands and thousands and thousands. So as a small business who's trying to figure out how to go to people's houses and stop their basements for flooding, they just simply cannot sit in front of Google and figure all of this out. It's just too complicated, it's too complex. If they spent 10 hours a day, they could do it well.
So this is the problem.
This is the problem,
businesses,
right.
People who are spending under $25,000 a month, they may not have an in-house search engine marketer.
Yeah, they definitely do not have an in-house search engine marketer, and they may not be able to afford an agency that would do this for them because there might be a minimum spend like $15,000 or $20,000 because it's a very time-consuming activity, so the agency has to make money and you have to be big enough to give them money. So what does Trada do? Well, what Trada had the idea to do was to try to solve the problem not with purely technology, trying to build a piece of software that would understand what words you should bid on and the bid prices. There are those kinds of pieces of technology out there, and they do good jobs in some contexts. Our idea was that we wanted to solve the problem by bringing the expertise to you. If you're a small business, you should have access to someone that knows how to do this. And there's hundreds of thousands of people that know how to run these campaigns. The way that we decided to do this was to create a marketplace where an advertiser could essentially define what they wanted to spend and what they were willing to pay for a visitor or for a sale. We have both of those models.
Right.
And then we essentially crowdsource or expert source, which means we offer to our whole marketplace the ability to work on the campaign together. What's amazing about this is if you think about it.
So wait, there might be, let me just make sure I got this correct. You have hundreds or dozens or thousands of search engine marketers in your network.
About 380 so far.
So you have 380, which is a lot actually, because this is a very
growing,
specific
growing
scale.
very quickly, yeah.
So like 99 Designs, which has a bunch of designers,
Right.
you have this even more sophisticated group of people who actually do search engine marketing.
Right.
They watch people who are the plumbers or the small business or the medium-sized business come in and say, I need to get people here for my plumbing services. I'm willing to pay 50 cents, $1 a click to get them to my website. And then they just team up and go do all this work.
Well, so one thing that's really important is that in our model, you mentioned 99 Designs. So in 99 Designs, you would say, I need a logo, and 300 people would independently submit results to you and you would pick. In our model, we actually really believe in the wisdom of that crowd. So let's say that we had a room of 20 people sitting here, and I went around and I said, everybody write down 10 ways that you would type into Google to look for a plumber in your neighborhood. We collected all those note cards and we created the unique list. Well, you would have a lot of people coming up with the same basic things, but you would have a lot of people coming up with their own unique perspective on things.
Which is valuable.
Yeah, and so it's that wisdom of the crowds that we combine together and we let them work together. The way that Google's pricing works is that an obvious thing like Boulder plumbers is going to cost $1.50, but a less obvious thing like who can fix my broken pipes is going to cost 20 cents.
Right.
So the combined activity of all of those experts that know how to do this and their approach and perspective.
This could be saving 80% on the click.
I could be saving 80% of the click, and it could be getting 10 times as many clicks because you've now got a lot more things working.
So you're finding the needles in the haystack, and you got people who are needle finders working as a group.
So let me give you some interesting statistics, right? So an average small business works only on Google. They don't try Yahoo or Microsoft because they don't have the time. No offense, they're great systems. They just don't get to it.
Well, they got to go with the biggest player. They got 67% market share, so why do I screw around with the 30%?
Right. On average, a small business campaign has 27 keywords that they manage, and they have between 1 and 2 ads. An average campaign in Trada works on Google and Yahoo, and Bing will be coming out in May, so 3 networks. It has, on average, 6,500 keywords because of this combined activity. Has on average 110 ads, and on average there are 25 paid search experts, pre-vetted and certified by us, working on a campaign. Wow. So it's 2 orders of magnitude more effort, and therefore more optimization. And the way that we end up working with people is purely pay for performance. So you say to us, I'm willing to pay 50 cents for a click, or I'm a retail site, I sell things, I need to sell things for under $10.
Here's what I need to make.
I need to sell stuff for under $10. That group then knows that they have to bid less than 50 cents on keywords, and if they can find something that works for 45 cents, they make the 5 cents difference. Or they need to spend less than $10 on Google and Yahoo to get that sale, and if they spend $7 and get the sale, they make the $3 left over. We try to take a percentage of that spread, so we're playing on a pay-for-performance system with everybody else. So there's no 20% of your advertising spend fees, there's no startup fees, there's nothing.
And basically if somebody puts a fee too low, there's no action.
There's no action, so this is a pure market, right?
Right.
And you can raise or lower your price up to once a day. And we give you lots of information as an advertiser to know where the right pricing is. So, and
the feedback of a bunch of experts is pretty good.
And this is right. And so
if I put 10 cents to click for mesothelioma, they go, hey, by the way, fella.
Yeah.
The other people are competing are over 90.
You got it. And so one of the things that's really important about our system is that the combined work of those people is completely transparent to you as an advertiser. You see every keyword, you see every cost, every click, every ad. You can choose to approve the ads if you want. And you can also communicate directly with your, we call them optimizers, with your optimizer team. So not only will they tell you things like, you're way underbidding in this category, you should probably go up to 50 cents or 60 cents. They also have a vested interest in what happens to the visitor once they've gotten to the website. So one of the models is where they get paid based on a sale. So you can imagine if the website could be better at getting people to convert into sales, they have a vested interest in that. So now you have all these people that know SEO, they know landing page optimization, they know all sorts of other things, design, shopping cart design, and they will, for free, write back to the advertiser and say, you really should put this on your landing page because it gets people to convert much better.
Because they'll make more money.
Because they'll make more money. You have
everybody's lined.
25 marketers working pay for performance.
I think somebody did this before. It's such an obvious idea.
It's
hard.
Well, so the reason
or maybe
we didn't,
it's not obvious.
The reason we didn't launch for 18 months, like we sat in a conference room before we ever got money, every Thursday for 4 hours, like 2 months before we got money, and we're like, this is going to take us like a week and a half, right? Done and done. Well, what we learned is that doing paid search for any kind of campaign, there's a lot of difference between a travel campaign, a finance campaign, and a whatever. This is why we rely on humans, because these humans opt into things they've already worked on. They know the markets, right? But building a system that accommodates all the different strategies for those different types of markets is a lot more work than we thought. The other thing that we learned a lot about is, we build a market of experts. And so there's this whole discussion around crowdsourcing and how do you motivate them and rate them and rank them. And building a motivation system for experts was a much more sophisticated piece of plumbing and infrastructure than we thought.
This is what we need to get into, because you and I are both in the same business in some ways, crowdsourcing.
Yep.
And it really gets into, with these contributors, what motivates them. You got Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They need a roof over their head, but then there's higher level like affiliation and recognition. When you look at your
the
group,
Bartle test, do you know the Richard Bartle stuff?
No, tell me that.
Yeah, so Jeff Osborne, one of our engineers, is really into virtual environments, Second Life, things like that.
Sure.
And he pointed me at this book about the design of virtual games by this professor, Richard Bartle. And he basically goes through and he categorizes the types of players, and he surveyed 200,000 players into basically achievers, explorers, griefers, and socializers. And what's interesting is that you would think everybody would play World of Warcraft because they like to kill things. Most of them actually don't. They want to explore the world. They want to achieve a new guild badge
you got that
or something.
What do they call that? Achievement porn or something like that? No, it's another word for it, with the badges and everything.
I checked in here on Foursquare. I'm like, let's see what I get, right? This is going all the way back to your Gen Y conversation. Is this a participate badge? Or this is a bad thing? Like you went to Starbucks, you get a badge,
So good point. But I do like so achieving stuff, that's good if you have the motivation to achieve, like Call of Duty, achieving things, getting special weapons, unlocking stuff, that's good. It'd be great if people did that in life.
And I think what's interesting
is
that's
what you've done, actually. You've made this into a game.
What crowdsourcing businesses are learning, right? And I wrote a piece on my blog about...
What's the name of the blog?
It's Trada.com, Trada.com/blog.
Okay.
The first piece I wrote was actually about Wikipedia. And there's all this stuff coming out about Wikipedia and the fact that the number of ads to it, the number of edits and ads are declining.
Yeah.
And my theory was that Wikipedia, being one of the first real crowdsourced ideas ever, and a very successful one, has only one motivational system, which is to contribute to the greater good.
Right.
And that sophisticated crowdsourcing businesses actually have multiple motivation systems. So I came into Mahalo.
I agree 100%.
Right, I came into Mahalo very early on in my life as building a crowdsourcing business.
Right.
And one of the things that I was incredibly impressed by was the fact that you had been doing it for a while, and you had all these different types of motivational systems. I came in, I answered a few questions in Mahalo.
Yeah.
I made like 47 Mahalo cents or bucks.
Yeah.
I got like a yellow belt. 3 people in the community were like, "That's awesome, good job."
Right.
I was overwhelmed by how many different ways, depending on the kind of person I was, that I could have been pleased with my experience.
Right.
And I mean, frankly, we poached a lot of those really good ideas. So
I mean, we're all in the same business. We're all figuring this out.
My point, we are figuring this out. My point, though, is that crowdsourcing businesses are learning that you can't have a singular motivation system.
It's not single. Right? It's exactly right. You have to have multidimensional, and people, I think, change at different points in their life. They like different motivations. Right. So when you start, you may not care. We find a very specific profile. People say, "Oh my God, I can make money answering questions. I do that on Yahoo Answers, but I don't make money." Or I make edits on Wikipedia and I don't make money. Or I work for eHow and they pay terrible for associated content. Yeah. Let me try this. They come in and they go, "Oh, this is fun and whatever." But they forget about the money and the virtual currency and they go, "Oh, I found some nice people to affiliate with." Or I felt good about my achievements. I got my belt, I got my points, I unlocked features. And then they move on and they say, you know what, now I'm into altruistic stuff. So we have a whole group doing Mahalo Kiva, and we're launching the Mahalo store next week where you can donate your earnings to charity. We've had the same users be interested in owning a specific page, having the most best answers in this category. You know, they want all the best answers in Corvette. But now I want to own the Corvette page. Now I want to give money to Haiti. And if you can get them on all those things and fire on all cylinders. So in your business, what are those things that you fire on? They want to make money. So they want to be the best person in the system. They want to please people. What?
So a lot of those things. What's interesting about our model is I think we're one of the few crowdsourcing, we call it expert sourcing businesses, where on
expert sourcing, I like that.
Yeah, where on any advertising campaign, there are multiple winners. So most crowdsourcing businesses have sort of a, let me put out a brief and I'll get one response and I'll pay that one person. And that works in a number of contexts, but what I love is on a campaign where 25 people are working on one advertiser's campaign, probably 22 of them are making money. The best person is probably making 50% of the money, and then 25%. It's a very smooth long tail. But then you can go work on other campaigns, and every campaign, the top person is a different person.
The game starts over. It's a new chess match.
It is, and what's interesting is that depending on the campaign type, different optimizers, paid search experts, end up being the best. It's not about when you join the campaign, it's about maybe your familiarity with the subject. So
sure, I'm a travel expert. I know the keywords people who want to travel. I'm going to win this one, but when we get to gadgets, I may not do as well.
Exactly. So the obvious motivation in Trada is to make money, right? And you know, I just cut checks for March, and we're paying people in the thousands of dollars now. So thousands of dollars a month.
Right.
So this is a
ours
real
Mahalo, hundreds to low thousands.
Yeah. You know,
not
money. Everybody thousands.
Not everybody, but the top
hundreds to thousands.
They can pay a mortgage
money.
payment. They can pay for the car payment. Almost a full-time job, or clearly a full-time job. The top people.
I would say in
Half
6 months we will have 1-2% of our market will be their full-time job. And what's interesting is that the #1 type of paid search expert we have is someone who was doing freelance paid search consulting. Two guys, 2 gals, and a dog, and they found themselves spending 80% of their time selling and marketing, building reports, and doing billing and collections. All the stuff that sucks. So when you look at their hourly rate, which is maybe $100, $150 an hour, and then you come and you basically take that and translate just the paid search work part of it.
Right.
You go into Trada, the customers are already there.
Right.
They go and they do the paid search work. An average person in our system makes $36 an hour, right? But that's $36 an hour of dedicated paid search work. So it's really 4x that if you're only spending 25% on the other side. So money is the #1. We added a point system and a point store. So when you get a conversion or a sale, you get extra points, or when you answer a survey, we kind of use them to find out information. We're just adding sort of profiles with relative achievement badges.
Nice.
There's something that we have in our system which is called a hat trick. This happens very rarely in paid search. It's where you get one impression of an ad. It's only shown to one person, one click, and a sale. We call this a hat trick. It's only happened.
It's like splitting the arrow. Robin Hood splits the arrow.
It's like splitting the arrow. That's exactly right. That should be the badge, is the arrow splitting.
Yeah,
perfect.
Because you hit the target.
Yeah.
And then you hit the target and the arrow before it.
Yeah. And so we've run. We're in the millions of billions of impressions, millions of clicks, and thousands and thousands of sales. Kind of general scope of things, and that has happened 5 times.
Wow.
So to get a hat trick, badge is a real accolade. We added in community moderators recently. We have 3 awesome community moderators.
They get something.
They get to say they're community moderators.
Right. Recognition.
We tell them about features that we're launching a little bit early. They're involved early on.
Inside information.
We
found that too.
Feedback.
I created, the way I did that at Mahalo was I created a special email list. And I called a group of people my mavens. And I said, you guys are my mavens. I'm going to show you stuff early.
Yep.
Holy cow, does that make the world a difference to people?
Yep.
I love it. I mean, it's one of the reasons I love angel investing in companies is because I wind up becoming a maven in that company, and they'll show me something early. Gowalla will show me an early thing, or Jibe, or somebody will say, like, hey, try this extra feature. It's new. What do you think? It's awesome,
Yeah. So we're trying to do a lot more of that. We also, early on, we set up a Ning community next to our app. We would like at some point in time to integrate the two together, just because being social, what's interesting is
you have to own the social, the whole footprint has to be yours.
Well,
I agree.
We did this very specific thing when we started the company where we brought in paid search experts, about 10 at a time. We had them work with us for 6 weeks. They came to our office for 2 hours every week. They committed to this. We didn't pay them anything. And what we found out in the first meeting is that every one of them said, I don't actually talk to that many other people that do this. It's a very
That
solitary
is
job.
Such a good observation.
Right.
At Weblogs Inc., we had something called Winstock, Weblogs Inc. Network Stock. And we brought together the 30 bloggers who've been working together for 2 years together. Literally, people cried when they saw each other and hugged each other because they've been working together, never met. It was so powerful, the affiliation, and the friendship. And I think that this is one of the most underrated drivers. So we have a thing at Mahalo now where we put people in IRC room, the top 20 page builders. We pay them some money for being in the chat room and doing stuff. Call it Go Team. And at the end of the day, we were doing a phone call with them. Holy cow, the phone call was like a revival meeting. I mean, people were just so, oh, it's so great to hear your voice.
Yeah.
And I told my people, we are such idiots. Talking to people on the phone is so underrated. So then we did a thing with our top 12 people, the vertical managers who manage the page managers. We talk to them every 2 weeks on the phone. We do a check-in call. How are you doing? What's working? How's your kids? Transformative in terms of motivation. It's attention. And it's attention from daddy and mommy or the bosses or whoever it is. And I was counseling the CEO. I hate to take over the conversation, but you just inspired me with this point. I was talking to the CEO of Wilson Sonsini. And this guy's got 1,500 employees, a $500 million a year business. And I said to him, we're talking about motivation employees. I said, being CEO is the loneliest job on the planet, isn't it? And he looked at me like we were like long lost brothers. And I said, I can tell you the best thing you can do is talk to other CEOs or whatever. But think about your people. And whenever you have a chance, grab the handful of people you think might be a problem or who might be struggling or who do a great job. And just say, what are you doing for dinner? Let's grab a bite. Or, hey, I'm going out to Starbucks. Would you like to join me? And then put yourself in that person's position. 20 years ago, when you were up and coming, what does it mean to them that the CEO took them to a cup of coffee? They're going to tell their spouse. They're going to tell their friends. It's going to mean something to them. And I have to. And he told me, he goes, do you do that often? I said, not often enough. I have to remind myself. Yeah. And when you do it, it pays such benefits. Now, Tyler, I get to hang out with all the time. He doesn't need me to, cajole him, whatever. But Tyler actually goes out, and this is his job in the company is building the culture, et cetera. He actually, how often do you take people out for coffee in the company?
We have enough people where we rotate daily on the Starbucks meeting. And then I'll take a week off or two, and then we'll start up the cycle again.
Just basically go to get coffee with people. And man, it really, the people, we're social creatures.
Something that we did actually this last Monday, is we did something that we called the barn raising.
Yes, like the Wikipedia barn raisings.
Anyway,
a barn raising.
It's a hackathon, but it's a business hackathon, right? And so we had everybody come in, and we part of a barn raising, as my VP of Engineering and Ops, Michael, pointed out, is you've already got everything pre-cut. You know what you're going to do. So we picked a feature area we wanted to work on. And then we went through this process of getting everybody involved in what should the scope be, building requirements.
You built the barn on the weekend.
What's interesting, though, is that we then had departments mix up, and engineers helped write press release, right? And salespeople helped do UI wireframes with their designer.
They walked a mile in each other's shoes.
They did. And part of that is because after we launched the company, I'm very aware of kind of the traditional sort of S curves that go on in a business.
What does that mean?
There was an old HBR article about the fact
Harvard
that,
Business Review.
Harvard Business Review article.
You go to HBS?
No, I didn't.
Right.
But
they wouldn't let you in?
But I got the magazine.
Me too. That's my story. You wouldn't get into that. You're too successful of an entrepreneur.
I spoke at HBS.
That's my line. I always tell people that. I speak at HBS every year or two. They ask me to come down. And I'm like, you know what? I couldn't get a job in the cafeteria here.
No, absolutely.
Let alone as a student.
Yeah.
Why am I here talking?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm some kind of like freak pet or something they bring in.
It's like Rodney Dangerfield in Back to School.
Yeah.
Where he's like doing he's like talking about like all the things you really got to do to like get a building built in Chicago or whatever.
That was awesome.
Yeah. It's very similar. But
I love that scene with Bob. Well, who's where he talks about the Korean War and he goes crazy.
Is that in Back to School?
When he goes back to school, who is the great comedian who used to yell and scream who died?
Sam Kinison.
Sam Kinison.
That's
Sam
right.
Kinison plays a teacher.
That's right.
And he's like, oh, Mr. Smarty Pants.
Yeah.
Somebody pull that, if you guys, Kenny, Dr. Chen, if you could pull that up, we'll play it after the show for people. But oh my God, was that a great movie.
But the S curves thing. So this article was talking about how executives traditionally have sort of an S curve of skills. They can deal with organizations when they look a certain way, from 0 to 5 million in revenue, 5 million to 10 million in revenue.
This many employees,
right?
that many employees.
Because you have to sort of rearrange the types of ways that you approach problems as you move through those S-curves. It's sort of the classic, when you see a big enterprise software company doing 500 million of revenue, it's a good time to sort of bet that they won't make it to $1 billion, because that's like a huge jump for some reason. So it even happens at very, very big companies as small companies. But I realized after 18 months of launch that we were actually, as a company, going into our next S-curve, right? We had been very heads down about getting a really, saleable, well-working 1.0 product.
It's a well-executed product.
Yeah, I mean, we do phenomenally for our customers. When they come in, they see results they would never see elsewhere. It's a great product. We're very happy. We also know where we can go with it.
Right idea, right time.
But now the business is all about constant refining of the machine, constant iteration, efficiency, making it better, making people happier, constant bliss. And I kind of realized in this process, after watching everybody kind of mix up the groups, that actually my role as a CEO is completely different. I woke up one day, the day after launch, and realized that everything I did for the last 18 months, I couldn't spend any of my time doing for the next 18.
And what was that? From being a product person to being a motivator and an educator? What changed?
I'm a very tactically oriented person. I sort of, going back to your commentary on Gen Y, I self-evaluate if I'm doing a good job based on how much I'm outputting, right? Did I write a bunch of blog posts? Did I write an awesome presentation? How many customers did I close? Did I get the financing done? Did I go get some venture debt? All the kind of stuff.
You're driven, you're type A.
Yeah, very much so. But now I have enough people in my company, and they're all very sophisticated and experienced players. I mean, everybody. We have very sophisticated engineers.
You don't need to be the one putting the ball in the basket.
I can't helicopter over a department that I happen to wake up and think about one day, find something tactical that interests me, dive bomb in, because it basically scatters the troops, and they got to go and reform and keep marching the way they're marching. So I now have to basically move into a strategic role where I anticipate strategic roadblocks and I try to get them out of the way before anybody else encounters them tactically. That's actually a completely different way to spend your day. So, for example, I was reading and responding to blog posts and Twitter feeds and stuff the other day, and to me that feels like hooky, right? It feels like I'm taking the day off, and I'm like, and I realized like this is actually exactly what I should be doing.
Yeah.
Right. Coming here to Santa Monica, lovely Santa Monica,
the brand.
Felt like a day off to me.
Right.
Right.
It's critical though. Now people, how many 75,000 people can hear about the company. They're going to hear about you. They understand what you're doing. Get a little inspired. Right. It's critical.
But this is my gig now, and for 18 months it'll be my gig, and then we'll hit the end of that S curve.
Right. And then you have to maybe drill down again.
And I'll have to go figure out who do we buy, right? What major product areas are going to keep us from flames, big money, whatever.
Yeah. How do I crowdsource 3 other areas right next to this one that would be complementary, whatever the next level is.
Yeah, so it's
interesting.
It's funny waking up one day after being so focused and realizing, I read this great book before I started Trada called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There."
Yeah, it
was about, even if you've had successes, taking a look at the reasons that what you were successful despite.
Yes.
I was successful despite the fact that I was a bit, authoritarian in my management approach. I was successful despite the fact that I didn't really work that hard.
Right.
And realizing those things, if you go to try to do it again, you don't just assume.
So being a dictator and being in the right place at the right time does not mean Trada succeeds.
Not that I was that, but
a little bit maybe.
Well, I'll give you a good example. So at Service Metrics, the first company I built, I was young. I started the company when I was 22. My partner Tom Higley and I, we would go to New York, and we would he was maybe 40 at the time. He was an awesome mentor to me, but he liked the nightlife.
Right.
So we would go to New York, and we would go to whatever, the Knitting Factory, or go down to the Vanguard and just get schnozzled and get up at 8:30 in the morning and go talk to Merrill Lynch and close a customer.
Right.
Right. That's just kind of how we did it, and we had this great rapport building things that way. I can't do that now.
No.
Because it introduces too much risk for certain types of personalities in a business to have confidence in the way things are being run.
Right.
And so I just have to give that up.
Yeah.
Or I do it in my own way on the weekends or whatever the case may be. And there was nothing wrong with that. Tom and I, we had great success with the company.
Different strategies work at different times in history. Back then, you could be a young kid, like you said, it was a different moment in history, and you could say, you go in and tell a bunch of adults, like, this is what you got to do, you don't know what you're talking about, and they'd be like, oh, great, here's a check. You're young, and you know what the internet is, here's $1 million. Now you do that, they're like, well, I'm very sophisticated, I've been doing search engine marketing for 15 years, who the hell is this guy? Tell me how to do it better. You have to be persuasive now. You're not dealing with schmucks.
Well, you have to also enroll expertise in your business. right? You're right. The huge transition from the end of the 90s to the end of the first decade of 2000 was you were the smartest person in the room. Now you have to have the smartest people in the room
on your team,
push the influence towards you.
Yeah.
Through Twitter, through blogs,
right?
Because they're on your
Get
team,
attention.
because they're investors in you, right? So, for example, 2 of our angel investors are the guys that started Performix, which is one of the 3 biggest affiliate companies. So, Stuart Larkins and Jamie Krathamiel. So, just having them in our sphere said to people that had experienced that business model before, like, oh, they think it's they think this is good enough, I should pay attention.
Right. It's attention.
Hugely important to us.
And you could have gotten any kind of funding sources. So the angels then become critical because they are a signal to the market that this is important and you should pay attention to it.
That's right. And we also, one of our angels is one of the biggest direct linking affiliates in Commission Junction, which is someone who places Google ads and pushes traffic to eHealth insurance and tries to play the spreads.
Right.
Running millions of dollars a year kind of thing. And he and his partner were instrumental in telling us where the bar was set to make it interesting for someone of his caliber to use our software.
Right.
And that's why it took us 18 months.
Right.
Because you can whip together some stuff to put keywords into Google over the weekend. They've got APIs and tools, but you can't give an expert of that caliber the tool set that he or she requires to actually come in and really take you seriously. It takes time.
You got yourself some good coaches. You got yourself some people who can really sort of set the benchmark for what is success.
Very advisor-centric, yeah.
It's a great company. I really was blown away when you showed it to me. It was one of the highlights of the trip, and I'm really glad that you explained this to everybody. What do you read to be up on this industry of search engine marketing? Is there like a Bible of it? Is there a TechCrunch of it? Because it seems like a very underground. Is it like? Why is it so underground? Do people not want to talk about it or share the secrets? Is it too important? Because this is what makes Google all their money.
Yeah.
Why is it so underground that people don't understand it?
It's a good question. I think part of the problem is that as you were wise to slow me down and have me differentiate, is people conflate search engine marketing with search engine optimization.
Right.
Search engine marketing is also paid search, is also pay-per-click marketing, is also search engine, advertising. There's so many different acronyms that people don't sort of know how to differentiate an article they're reading and what it really means. It's very, very simple at the end of the day. Are you talking about the results that Google gives to you that nobody pays for, organic, or are you talking about the ads that go around it? Well, once you kind of understand that distinction, you can go and find lots and lots of blogs about this. So there's blogs like Marketing Pilgrim or PPC Hero or things like that. Search Insider, a lot of the media post stuff is out there that's really good. But the industry changes very quickly. It's not like going and trying to find someone who can tell you like where to place a print ad, or like is Yellow Pages a good buy or not? I mean, Yellow Pages hasn't changed. The actual physical Yellow Pages hasn't changed in what, 15, 20 years? The cost might have, maybe what you write in the ad, people respond to differently, but the activity isn't. Well, what's interesting about search engine marketing is it changes dramatically. And my one sort of quippy statement I make about it is that Google made one change to their homepage last year. I'll give you a quiz. Do you know what that was?
I do. They increased the size of the box.
Oh. And do you know why they increased the size of the box?
Because the number of keywords that people are searching for has increased by a word.
So I did not actually tell him this beforehand.
No, I know.
So
I'm
you're
up on this.
A smart guy. So so if you think about what that means is that people now type who sells Blackberries online.
Right.
You and I 6 years ago would
BlackBerry.
type BlackBerry or BlackBerry deals
Sales.
or something. Whatever.
BlackBerry store.
So
BlackBerry
think about now, based on the description I gave of paid search, you now have to go and enter into Google into the auction for who sells Blackberries online.
It's a magnitude of complexity.
3 months, the industry shifts. You've got product ads, you've got retargeting that's going on now, whatever. So unless you're completely dedicated to it, because it's your business.
And even if you are, it's got to be multiple people. It's better to have your hive brain than it is any one individual brain. It's sort of like the world in general, politics, the geopolitical things that we have to solve can't be solved by one individual, one company, or one country. Global warming, the economy, jobs, poverty, water crisis. These are things that take a large number of people, a large number of scientists, a large number of politicians, a large number of lobbyists, a large number of entrepreneurs to solve these problems.
I agree.
This has been an incredible episode. Tyler, you have an insight?
Essentially, in one respect, did you consider naming the company Deer Farm?
Deer Farm.
Yeah, because I think what you've built is a deer farm.
There actually was an original name of the company, if you want to know what it was,
Yes.
which I think you'll like. So the original name of the company was Palio, P-A-L-I-O. The Palio, for those who don't know, is a famous horse race that takes place in the middle of Siena in Italy. It takes place twice a year. There's 17 neighborhoods called contradas, hence where you get Trada from. And what's special about this race, if you guys have ever seen the latest James Bond movie, Quantum of Solace, the beginning with all the horses and all the colorful flags, that's the Palio. Right? So what's important about this race, though, is you don't know the horse you're riding until you show up that morning.
Whoa.
I thought it was a really cool metaphor for a marketplace of paid search experts. I don't know who's going to be the best in my campaign. So, which is maybe similar to your thoughts about a deer farm.
Deer farm is something that produces a lot of dough and attracts big bucks.
Oh. Well, I liked that too. So,
That's an amazing insight, Tyler.
yes.
All right, let's bring in Lon. We're going to talk about the news. And while we bring him in, we'll play his infographic. Lon is here. We can stop playing his new song. How you doing, Lonnie?
I could listen to it all day.
I know you can. He does.
I do.
Every
I sit
time
at
he
my
walks,
desk.
sits there and just. Da, da, da. Lon is a very serious guy. Da 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 da.
I'm Generation X. I will
wait a
throw
second.
out there.
Are you saying you're Generation
Let me
X
throw
because you
out
heard
there.
my rant?
No, because I was born in 1978. That fits, right? That's the previous generation.
That definitely. I think it's 83. Somebody tell me in the
83
chat
is what they
room
say is the cutoff.
is that really what it is? According to whom?
I do not know, but I think 80 to 83 was what we were hearing.
Yeah.
What we were looking up. 78, I think I'm definitely in the clear on this one.
All right, you're fine. I would tell you it doesn't matter if you are or not because you come to work and you bring it every day.
I'm in that 20%.
You're in that. Either you're in that 20% or you are in Gen X. And I don't, just getting back to the conversation we had.
Yeah, briefly.
Briefly. Because I can't get started again because I just calmed
riled up.
down.
Yeah,
It took me an hour to get back down.
I don't want to get too riled up.
This stasis. But Generation X sometimes took, they didn't have a big enough worldview. They didn't think global enough, and they just thought about making money. It was one-dimensional, greed is good, Wall Street.
Right.
What I think the world needs right now is maybe Generation XY. And that's what's going to be the name of my post if I ever get it done. And you have to take the greed and the desire to succeed and the drivenness and competitiveness of Generation X and combine it with the worldliness and global view and empathy and technical literacy of Generation Y. If you can put those two things together, I think that's when you have the most.
Which would be their kids, the Generation Y's kids. Maybe.
If you're a 40-year-old and you marry a 25-year-old, you'll have Generation XY kid, or
Well, I have a theory as to why people who grew up in, because we're talking about people who grew up in the 70s and 80s, like myself and you,
right?
Versus people who grew up in the 90s. And I think
is your little brother Gen Y, or is he?
He's 82, so he's right.
So he's
there
Gen Y
on the border.
probably.
He's right there on the border. But I think that but he also grew up in the 80s.
Right.
And if you grew up in the 70s and 80s, there was a tremendous feeling that the world was messed up.
Yes.
That it's acid rain. There's
nuclear
medical
Holocaust.
Waste. There's Cold War.
Russians are going to get
Gingivitis.
Gingivitis was as bad as it's been in the 20th century. I mean, there was just this feeling, and that's why Reagan had all that, it's morning again in America, we want to renew.
Right.
If you grew up in the 90s, everything was pretty good.
It's pretty lush.
Wars, but the economy was booming. Technology was booming.
The wars were very ephemeral. We're going to send some drones over here, Black Hawk down.
And the biggest news stories were sex scandals and, .com millionaires and private planes and all that. And I think that if you grow up in that atmosphere, there's a feeling that, none of it really matters. Everything's going to work out.
Champagne and roses.
Good. It doesn't really, you see that a lot in politics when you talk to younger people and they'd be like, who are you going to vote for president? Oh, it doesn't matter who's president. It doesn't matter who you elect. Everything always turns out the same anyway. And that mentality when you get into the workforce becomes, I don't really need to work. Whether I work hard or not.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Company will turn out okay. The economy will be fine. I'll get another job. And I think I've seen that here at Mahalo, and I think I've seen it at a larger cultural sense as well. There's a feeling if you grow up in an era of such prosperity, you feel like it's just the way it is. It's always going to be that way.
Right, until you get fired.
Right. Well, the world is not that way at all.
Yeah,
at all.
that's
We've
the problem.
seen in the last like 4 or 5 years.
Well, we've seen since the economic crisis that
Yeah.
things can get very bad.
The bottom can just drop out below
right.
you. Yeah.
And those jobs may not come back. We may be at 10% unemployment for a decade.
Right, or more. Yeah.
One of my big gripes in this one is the definition of being an entrepreneur has changed dramatically from the 90s to the 2000s. When people said in 1993, "I want to be an entrepreneur," they meant what we're talking about, like that you give up everything and you sacrifice everything and you fly anywhere you need to fly and you work any hours you need to work, and that's just the sort of social contract that you have with the world to be able to call yourself an entrepreneur.
It's like a lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're choosing that as
It is a life.
It is a life. And now I think when people say I want to be an entrepreneur, and I have talked to a lot of people about this because when I hear this I can pick it up very quickly. What they're talking about is the lifestyle of, I think your last guest said they like the game, right? Like, oh, I think it would be fun to go play this game of business.
Yes.
The two things, they have nothing to do with each other.
Right.
And you can tell someone who says, I want to be an entrepreneur because they want to be an entrepreneur, not because they want to build something of value for a customer, right? Like, if they don't ever mention the value they're building for a customer in their explanation of why they want to be an entrepreneur, then they are the Gen Y that you're talking about, the bad kind of Gen Y entrepreneur.
They want to wear they want to wear the gladiator outfit. They don't actually want to fight.
Look at how many people's Twitter bylines, when you go and take a look at them, are entrepreneur, comma, whatever.
Yeah. Or they say like founder of, and then their personal website or something.
Founder of
I love that one.
TylerCrowley.com.
I'm the founder of Crushed by Inertia.
I'm the founder of Big News.
Right. No, but for real, on Twitter you really do see that, where people will say founder of what, and you go, oh, what's that?
And you click, and
it's like their blog, and like you're not
a
founder.
You started a blog.
Unless you invented Blogger, you're not the founder of that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yes, I found it. It would be great if somebody's like, I'm the founder of Twitter.com/Jason.
Yeah.
I just circles back to you. I'm the founder. It circles back to your Twitter account.
And so I think a lot of that is people don't want to work for other people. They don't want to work hard. And entrepreneur seems like it's like that. It's like a way around.
It's the lifestyle,
it's
the
a
freedom.
real job, and people respect you.
Entrepreneur is the new self-employed, right? I mean, in the 80s, you would just say, I'm self-employed.
Yeah,
fun-employed.
freelancer.
Yeah, I'm a freelancer.
You know what's working for people?
Before you get into that, the word that I was referring to in Japanese, the whole generation of Japanese that decided not to join the salaryman leagues, it was based off, the word in Japanese is based off of freelancer. And it was this whole generation that did freelance work. It became a huge national problem, where they had to pass laws about it and everything else. And they're just coming out of it. And I think the reason they're coming out is because, when you hit a big crash, I don't think it's any coincidence that, like, the ass-kicking generations of America came out of the Great Depression. Because that's what, you're much like a drug addict or whatever else. You get your shit straight.
I think that's pretty true. And I think a lot of it, too, has to do with, certainly in my parents' generation, like my father, you grew up with the idea that you worked for a company and then you worked for that company. Maybe you switched jobs once or twice.
Yeah.
But that was your job.
Yeah.
And you moved up in the ranks maybe of that company if you were doing a really great job. And now it's so like you work place 2 years, you go.
I can't even read these young people's resumes anymore. I'm like, what did you do after this job? They're like, well, that was like I was there and I was also doing this. And then I went to that. And I'm like, there are no months on this resume. It says 2007, 2008, 2009, 2009. I'm like, what months did you work there? Well, I worked on a project with that. I'm like, okay. And so when I interview people now, I tell them, I expect a 3 to 4 year commitment from you. Are you prepared to work for me 60, 70, 80 hours a week like a maniac for 3 or 4 years? Do you want that? And then some of them, like in Gladiator, when they're about to go into the fight, they just piss down their leg. I see it.
Tyler and I have those moments in interviews with people where we're telling them that, like, look, this is, this could be 80 hours a week, every week, for, a year, 2 years, as long as you're needed.
Right.
And some people are like, awesome, let's do it. And most people are
their
like...
legs start shaking, and then you see this, like, all of a sudden their jeans start turning a darker color, and it's just, they're standing in their own piss.
You can read it in their face, that it's like, oh, that's not what I was signing up for.
Exactly.
So I think that, when you're devoting yourself to a career like that, and you're thinking about it every day, like, I am building this career at this company, you have a feeling of responsibility. I have to go kill it every day.
You know who's got great responsibility?
Who's that?
Power VPS.
Yes, they do.
So responsible, the Power VPS.
They are.
I tried to make a segue before it. I was like, forget the good
He
sponsors.
gave you a good one. He said he was killing it every day. You
And I
could've said
tried to, but
who's
it was, you
killing
got to put
it.
8 sentences off, and then if I say, you know who else is killing it, it's too late. They don't remember, so I have to say, you know who else is very reliable? Power VPS. You know, they're fully managed virtual private server hosting with great customer service and an amazing price. They start as low as $59 a month. www.powervps.com. Twist viewers get 25% off for life. And you just put the discount code in TWIST, T-W-I-S-T. It is your Geary. It is your responsibility. It is your noble honor. It is your humble honor to thank the sponsors on Twitter. You can say thank you at DNA Mail, at WebSpy, at PowerVPS, at Ustream, and at Steep Decline, and at Lons, which are these guys, these two guys' handles. You should always follow at Steep Decline if you want to get insights during your week. Tyler is known to do a tweet every 2 or 3 weeks, and Lon does about 2 or 3 an hour at Lons.
Yeah, I tweet a lot more than Tyler, but Tyler does send out a lot of great links if you follow Tyler.
He does have some very
You'll get a lot of the good viral videos like a few days early if you follow Tyler.
He's got insightful links.
Yes.
Let's get to the news.
All right, there's one story that sort of dominates the news.
Really, I wonder what that could be.
We're going to spend a lot of time on one device.
Yes.
That is pretty much completely overtaking the entire tech news world right now. So, of course, the iPad, Apple's new tablet computer, hits on Saturday. Everyone is clamoring.
Also known
all
as
over
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Saturday, this week.
And
tonight into tomorrow,
Absolutely.
people will get their iPads. A few Apple employees and dignitaries and high-level people already have theirs, of course.
Well, I had mine the day before they announced it.
You've had yours for forever. The App Store, it already is live. It went live on Thursday to give everybody a sneak peek. By Apple's count, there's going to be 2,300 apps at launch. There's already a top app chart, actually, because of the privileged few who have theirs. But because they're all Apple employees, it's all Apple. So it's not really that telling yet.
Got it.
Gizmodo, however, has a really great post naming their top most essential iPad apps. If you just go to Google and Google Gizmodo top iPad apps, I really recommend it. Great overview. I've been using it all day myself to plan Mahalo coverage of all the really hot apps that are coming out. It's Netflix, which is free and lets you stream thousands of movies and shows over Wi-Fi, which is like an amazing thing. Marvel Comics has a comic book reader. There's games like Mirror's Edge and Civilization Revolution. New York Times, Wall Street Journal, NPR already have theirs out. It's a very long list. So what do you think most people are going to have as their primary iPad use? Like, which brand of app do you think is going to be the breakaway that is the essential app?
Last night I had dinner with Brian Alfie, my partner on Weblogs Inc., who's now doing CrowdFusion, and he's got an incredible client that I can't say the name of.
Right, isn't that what they're here to announce?
They've got a huge client, and they're cutting them over. When it comes out, it's going to be a very big deal. So I won't say it, but he had his 3 kids over the house, and boy, was that... I love my daughter, but I'm not having 3 kids. I'll tell you that,
ready
man.
for 2 more?
Oh boy, wow! I think all of a sudden he told me you're outnumbered, and when you get 3, you're outnumbered, and it's over. 2 you can handle because you separate, divide, and conquer. 3, it's over.
That's it.
Anyway,
one-on-one design.
When he when he wanted to calm the situation down, what did he do? 2 iPad touches, boom. These kids, it was like they took a shot of Demerol. They were just like. It was unbelievable. Wow. They looked like Lindsay Lohan coming out of Villa at 1 in the morning.
Right.
These kids were. I mean, it was unbelievable. So I have to, and it was because they're playing casual games.
Right.
So
Very addictive.
Yes, and I know from playing Bejeweled like a maniac that I am addicted. And I'm going to be 40 years old in November. I'm addicted to playing Bejeweled. I feel like I'm an idiot. I'm playing this game for like 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day when I'm online at the Starbucks or whatever. So long and short of it, casual games, video games are going to be epic on this thing. The number 2 thing that people are going to use it for is consumption of news and video.
Right.
I don't know which one of those is going to be better. People generally consume more news than video. The network will suck. So since the network's going to suck, I think video is going to suck. So I don't think Netflix is going to work unless you're on Wi-Fi.
If you're on Wi-Fi, it only works on Wi-Fi. Netflix won't even work over 3G.
Well, it will work if I have my Sprint 4G router.
Yes.
And I hook it up to, which is what I'm doing. I ordered an iPad, but the huge waste of it is that for creative applications, it would have been a home run if they put a camera on it for video conferencing, Skype video, all these other things. It would have been this wonderful device, recording video, taking pictures. There's no reason why I couldn't have held it like this and taken pictures and shot video with it.
Yeah.
And so that whole class of applications is going to be turned off until next year when he releases the next version with those things in, and we'll throw away this year's in classic evil Steve Jobs thing. So I'm going to go games, text, and video. What do you think?
I'm like the only naysayer in the world. I think it's going to be not that big of a deal.
No, I'm sort of with you on that, and
Which
actually
is the
leads
question
into
you
our
were asking, right?
leads into our next story quite perfectly. But yeah, I don't as a sort of person who.
But of people who do have it, what do you think?
Yeah.
Sure, of people that do have it, I think video streaming for sure. You know, I think people are used to watching Hulu on their laptops and being able to take that over the couch and make it a
and
little bit more
ABC
comfortable.
actually also is going to have a really amazing app where you can watch like whole episodes of all their shows. You know, right there. Yeah.
Hey, Tyler,
Just
you getting one or not?
don't know yet. I want to play
You're
with it.
kind of cheap.
I am, as far as gadgets go.
You get paid a lot of money. Why are you so cheap?
I don't know. I don't like buying.
Seriously, how long did you not have the iPhone 3G?
A year.
You have it now, though.
Yeah.
You'll actually wait until.
I don't have the 3GS though.
This makes no sense, Tyler. So you're not going to buy an iPad for a year. You wait to version 2.
No, I want to actually play with it first before I decide if I want to get it or not. I just don't know that the Starbucks element. I don't know that anyone's going to play with it at Starbucks. That's what I want to know. You know what I mean?
That's your test.
I'll be interested the first time I see somebody standing around in public.
You're going to look like a
big
dork
thing.
standing with that thing.
Yeah, you really are.
If you have it, you're sitting down. Please do not. This is a message.
Yeah.
This is a. Let me cut this. A message to Apple fanboys and girls. Do not stand and walk with an iPad. You're going to get hurt. You're going to look like an idiot.
The segue of mobile devices.
It's going to be the segue of mobile devices. If you're using an iPad, the only proper way to do it is when you're sitting.
Or on a Segway.
Or on a Segway in Steve
Double
Wozniak's
whammy,
case.
double
Steve
whammy.
Wozniak's case.
On his iPad.
All right, next story. Let's keep it moving.
Next story, it's perfect segue into the next iPad story. The New York Times ran a piece today asking whether or not a mainstream audience is actually going to be willing to shell out this much money for a device that they think their estimation is it's a bit hard to grasp. For a non-technical crowd, like what is this thing exactly? What's the hook? Guy Kawasaki is actually quoted in the article as saying, you can't make a phone call with it, you can't take a picture with it, and you have to buy content that before now you were not willing to pay for. That seems tough to me. So it's estimated Apple's going to spend $515 million advertising the iPad this year. Basically, is it going to work? Does this have mainstream appeal, or is it just a fun toy for geeks?
This is the unknown. None of these products have ever worked. A tablet has never worked. Bill Gates was obsessed with a tablet for a long time. The tablet had many more features than this one. The tablet was much more complicated than this one. This product does not have a camera, which is a non-starter for a lot of people.
And a strange choice, a very strange choice to not put the camera. I get all the other stuff, but the
cost
camera.
is absurd. $600, $700, $800 plus another fee. It's right now it's a toy for rich people. Or affluent people, because it doesn't replace a laptop and it doesn't replace an iPhone. So I have a MacBook Air, I have an iPhone, I have a BlackBerry. It replaces none of those. So now I've got a fourth device to carry with me. I have device fatigue. So because it doesn't replace, and Walt Mossberg was pretty clear about this, it will not replace your laptop. It might for a short trip if you're going to read stuff, but if you're an email person, the keyboard is not going to really work for you. It's not going to, if you do spreadsheets or word processing or any of that stuff, it's a non-starter. It's not going to work. So because they crippled it, I don't think it can become a mass device. But I think his strategy is what he always does. He releases it, and then he adds the 5 things that will make it a mass product. It will be a mass product eventually.
We actually have a video of my favorite iPad commercial.
Oh, really?
I think we have it ready to go.
Okay, let's see the commercial. Then I want to
I
hear
don't know if this was
other people's opinion
Apple
about this.
sanctioned, but...
All right, let's play the video.
Hello, geeks. Take a look at your phone. Now back at mine. Now back at your phone. Now back at mine. Sadly, your phone is not mine. But your phone could be like mine if you bought from Apple and not those girly phones from Sprint and T-Mobile. Look down. Now back up. Where are we? We're at an Apple store in a black turtleneck with a phone that could be like mine. What's in your hand? Now back at me. It's an icon for that app you love. Look again. That icon has become an iPad. That's right. It's an iPhone that's twice as big. Anything's possible when you buy from Apple and not from Sprint or T-Mobile. I'm on a horse.
That's pretty funny. I give that guy a lot of
Really,
credit.
really well. I thought that was really well done.
Good job, neo-fight.tv, if they're the actual
I guess
people.
they're the people who
or the
created
person who stole it from them
Yes.
and put it up on YouTube. Congratulations to you for getting a free plug. What do you think? Is it going to be a mass appeal device, or is it a toy? Non-star? Is this Steve Jobs' greatest success, or is this dead in the water?
I think everything back from Jerry Kaplan tried to do Palm, the early Palm stuff up to now.
General Magic.
Fail constantly. I think you're going to maybe hit Kindle sale numbers, and that'll be it.
Wow.
Wow.
I think the real smart move is to carry around the Newton. I will buy anybody
the little
who
pen.
walks around with an Apple Newton. If I see you in a Starbucks, I'm buying you a drink, sir. Well played.
Looks like our camera got a little screwed up there. Wow, that's an interesting effect. I think Tyler must have jumped up and banged and hit the camera.
Weird.
No, the group. Show the group shot again.
Yeah,
Let's
the
see the
group,
screwed
the
up
group
video
shot was all
effect.
black and white.
Was it? You can show it. It's okay if it's
like,
screwed up.
oh, there
no,
it
it's fine.
is. Now it looks good.
Tyler, stop playing with things. All right, next story, please. We have
Well, do you want to keep going with iPad, or we have some other stories, but we can keep going with iPad. There's plenty more to talk about.
Is there something wildly interesting?
We could talk about the WSJ app and how much it costs, which is kind of ludicrous. We could talk about the reviews, or we could move on to something else.
Let's hear the reviews.
The reviews on the iPad front, largely stellar, pretty positive overwhelmingly. Of course, the New York Times' David Pogue was a fan.
No.
Used lots
really?
of...
David Pogue was a fan of the iPad?
He liked it.
Really? Let me guess his review. I can die a happy man now?
Sits close to that.
Okay, go ahead.
It has been designed and built by perfectionists. It's endearing. It's fun. It's bright. It's responsive. It's a new category of gadget, and it's a deeply satisfying experience.
You could have
all from one review.
Oh, David
That sounds
Pogue.
like a light bulb
Such
in
an
1850.
embarrassment.
Yeah,
Right.
That was all, and it's not even that long a review, actually.
This is amazing. My life is complete. There'll be no more war. There'll be peace throughout the galaxy. No more starvation and hunger, too. Imagine all the people.
iPad for Africa. There's a plan there.
David Pogue is an embarrassment to himself, the New York Times, and any tech journalist in the history of tech journalism.
I checked the
He
date
is an
that it was April
utter
2nd,
embarrassment.
Well, just every time. It's so like
Every
clockwork.
time.
Never trashes it.
Did he happen to mention no USB port? Did he happen to mention no camera? Did he happen to mention you can't replace the battery? Did he happen to mention...
You know what? The one downside he mentioned is it's a fingerprint magnet. That's what he said. Like it gets
really?
dirty easily. Your fingerprints get all over.
Heaven forbid you scratch the screen.
You can get a little sealant on the top, but now Steve Jobs supposedly has said he won't sell those covers for the iPad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he's banned them because somebody looked that up in the chat room. I heard that he's banning from the Apple stores the things that glaze
Those
over the
plastic
iPhone. Any
covers,
plastic
yeah.
covers, he doesn't want to do it. But I mean, how does the New York Times get taken seriously anymore when they put this clown's love letters to Apple? It's unbelievable. He is so incompetent, and it's such an embarrassment.
Yeah, it was just. I was reading it, and I got the idea halfway through. Like I'm going to start circling the adjectives.
Just give me the just go through the adjectives one more time.
Endearing, fun, bright, responsive, and then he said it gives you the feeling that quote it has been designed and built by perfectionists. And that's not all. Then he goes on to say. It's a new category of gadget. There's never been anything like before.
Nobody's ever come out with a tablet before, except for the last 10 years.
New kind of gadget, and then this was my favorite, a deeply satisfying experience. He's deeply satisfied by it.
I think this is...
I got $20 as he slept with it.
Well, I'm thinking I would use...
I don't want to know what he did with it at this point.
There an app for that? Of these apps.
Apparently there is an app for it.
Yeah.
I think that the iPad brought him to orgasm.
It's like chocolate cake meets Disneyland meets the greatest movie you've ever seen. Like I can't even think of anything else you could describe with all of those different adjectives.
It is unbelievable.
Like there's no one experience or product ever that could match up.
This
to
is
that.
another message for Arthur Sulzberger. Salzburger?
Salzburger.
Salzburger.
Yes. Arthur Salzburger.
This is my second message to him. Remember I did another one?
I remember. The last time David Pogue had like a video.
No, it wasn't. I don't think it was David Pogue the last one. I think it had something to do with the iPad or something.
It was like the iPhone. It was the 3GS iPhone or something.
I think it was because who knows? Somebody look it up.
Anyway,
this is a message to Arthur Sulzberger, in charge of the New York Times. Your paper is taken seriously throughout the world. and perhaps will be taken seriously for some period of time to come. Perhaps not much longer, due to the fact that David Pogue, who gets paid to write books about Apple, who gets paid to go on Apple cruises, has taken every ounce of credibility in your technology journalism and flushed it down the East River with his absurdly flowery, latent...
Go there. Go there.
It feels like a man crush reviews of Steve Jobs and everything he does. If Steve Jobs were to blow his nose into a tissue, David Pogue would say it was the most delightful innovation since sliced bread.
It's a provocative step forward in
A provocative
tissuing.
step forward in expectoration.
Yeah.
Is that the word? Expectorate?
Right.
Yeah, a delightful expectation of... I mean, come on, David.
The mucosoidal arts will never be the same.
I mean, this is really like, if you look at Walt Mossberg's review...
Which I have a couple other reviews here that we can sort
If you
of
look
go
at Walt
over.
Mossberg's review, he's very clear. And this is when you put Walt Mossberg next to David Pogue, it is like putting... It's like putting a circus clown next to Einstein and then asking them to solve a math problem. One of them throws up a bucket of confetti and the other one writes a masterpiece. It's like putting Mozart next to a garbage truck and a garbage man banging... It's like a chimpanzee banging a garbage can next to Mozart composing a symphony, David Pogue, the chimpanzee, Walt Mossberg is Mozart. Let's hear the Mozart.
Mossberg said, you know, he thinks it's close to being a laptop killer. It's not a laptop killer.
Right.
He says it's close, and that it is an advance in making more sophisticated computing possible via a simple touch interface.
Those are true statements.
That's what
That
he
is
thought,
credible
that
because
it's, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you.
I was going to say, like, that seems to be the gist of his review, was that it's allowing you to do more and more complex things using the, like, iPhone UI, basically.
Yes, the iPhone UI has changed things.
Right.
The pinching has changed things. You bring it to a bigger thing. And I read his review, and he says that this is challenging the concept of the mouse,
right.
Which is true, because you do see, or I think you will see, young people look at a laptop screen and go like this. You know, we're pinching, and we saw it in Minority Report. And I think that is start on the iPhone, which is very simple for the photo, and it's coming to the desktop now.
Yes.
So he's right about that. And it is almost, if you just consume email and don't write a lot, if you just consume websites, you could replace your laptop with this. If you write emails or you write spreadsheets or documents or things, it's going to be kind of hard.
Yeah.
If you write more than a paragraph, you're effed.
I think the gist of his review was that, yes, exactly what you were saying, that within a year or two, they will release enough
Or somebody else
modifications
will,
to make it useful almost as a laptop. USA Today.
Well, how much of an embarrassment is David Pogue? Just to get you in the conversation. No, it's like, I make you covered in the New York Times.
Your review.
No, what do you think of that?
Did he like scratch your bumper or something?
No,
I mean,
he didn't scratch the Tesla. But you know, like anyway, you have to admit. I mean, you're talking about really night and day between these two journalists.
I think there's an unprecedented amount of history in this category that if people ignore, I mean, granted, there was an unprecedented amount of history in the phone category before the iPhone came out. I'll give that.
No, but there were smartphones before that. The BlackBerry's a smartphone. Palm was a smartphone. They all did very well.
Yes. Well,
that
there was
was a
also a
trend
whole
of them
bunch of
doing
things
better
before
and
that
better.
that didn't do very well. The iPhone was a pretty big step forward. I give them that.
Of course.
Right. I mean, the argument that could be made that Walt Mossberg just made, the thing that came to my mind is Google Apps. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The first time you use Google Apps, you're like, I could basically write a blog on this, and that's about it. Pretty much now we use Google Spreadsheets, Google Apps,
almost
presentation.
100%, 90%.
For most of our stuff, unless I'm doing sort of financial modeling, I still have to use Excel,
Doesn't
etc.
work, yeah.
So I guess counter to my other sort of like argument that it's not going to go very well, if you come within striking distance and you start to get 70% of the utility of a laptop for 40% of the people that have never even opened Excel. Here's another Gen Y one, right? I mean, how many people in Gen Y have ever even opened and used Excel?
How many of them have opened a bank account? I don't know.
Right.
It doesn't feel like a lot.
Right. So I think from a generational perspective, you give 70% of the functionality to the people that don't need any more of it, and all of a sudden they think that's 100% of the functionality.
All right. Next story.
All right. We'll move on beyond the iPad.
Let's get. I'm gonna get me. I don't know why you're trying to get me riled up. I'm trying to slow down for the day. I'm trying to wind down.
The one last thing I was going to talk about: the Wall Street Journal app is $17.29 per month, which most people are saying is completely insane.
That's 75 cents a day. It's six times a week.
It's $3.99 per week.
Which there are 6 a week.
Yeah.
So
fair.
It's less than buying it in print.
Right.
It's much more than buying it online. What's the online price versus a yearly subscription?
It would be $11. It's about $11 a month to just get the online. So this is about $6-7 more a month.
They'll drop it down. It'll be one price for everything.
Well, there have been hints that subscribers to the online WSJ may get the iPad app for free.
They will.
Right.
They have a history of doing that. So I get the Wall Street Journal delivered to my house. It's the only print publication I get. And so I get the online for free. I'm sure I'm going to get the app for free.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. They want to, and so it's not unreasonable because it's a financial publication. For the New York Times, it might feel a little unreasonable to people, but not for the Wall Street Journal.
One thing I think is interesting is the sort of debate about what the format for online magazines on the iPad will be. It's actually, I went to this, there's a sort of a city magazine, 944 magazine. I think they probably do something in LA. I was looking through the most recent Vegas episode. I was looking for something. They actually have an interface that allows you to take the physical magazine and flip the pages. Ads and all. What's amazing about that is that they can get exact impression rates on ads, right? And I wonder
which is going to be pretty scary for the ad magazine industry.
Well, it's true, but I wonder what the magazine experience will end up being like, whether it's WSJ or whether it's something that much more of a glossy. But it was actually really quite interesting to be able to like flip a glossy magazine digitally, different than a Kindle or whatever the case may be. So I think that actually will extend the life of some of the traditional print, another few years.
Why are we doing apps anyway? Like, shouldn't the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal spend a lot of time building their website? It's very efficient. It works well. I know how to navigate it. Wouldn't that be better? Like, isn't the app and making it look like the old thing basically saying all the efficiency that we've gained in the website we're going to reverse?
It's a little confusing, and I find a lot of the website to app transitions are kind of clunky. Like, especially on the iPhone, the IMDb and Wikipedia apps are far inferior to just using the site. It takes longer. Your results aren't as good. It is counterintuitive.
This is why he does not want Opera, Firefox, or Chrome on those devices. Because if other browsers got on there and supported,
just go into IMDb and
it's gonna. I think that this whole app thing is except for games and specific things. You're better off just building a website to it. And why are we building these apps? It seems like we're building them specifically so Apple can control the experience and the economy. I mean, I hate to be a cynic that Apple would do something for their own interests, but
the time, the productivity and time of designing apps
it's
for
a waste.
Sites that already exist.
It should really. I mean, we spent all these years building the open internet. Let's support the open internet, not Steve Jobs' own little, power play to take over the planet.
I will say though that I think Apple has a history, Jobs not and then Jobs again, of flubbing every single thing they did over and over and over again because they never understood basic increasing returns philosophy, right? So if you ever go read Brian Arthur's stuff, right, about increasing returns, actually I wrote a piece called The Increasing Tail where I took Brian Arthur's increasing returns philosophy and merged it with Chris Anderson's long tail and went back through the history of companies that have been successful. And Apple, up to the iPhone, had always had a closed system approach, even with iTunes.
Right.
The iPhone was the first app that they ever built where they basically said, we're going to build the 3 most important things and then the 3,000-second most important things we're going to get from you. And that is now their strategy. And that is a fundamental shift in how Apple has changed the business, directly correlated with the valuation. Right? And if you look at it, I mean, the Newton, Next, Sister versus, their own OS, etc.
It was also
close. So it's amazing that someone could basically.
This is not that open because they still have to approve the app. So it's almost like baby steps.
True, but in terms of like even allowing someone else to develop, the apps that become the most important things. I mean, walk down the App Store to the App Store on the Promenade here. What's hanging in the front? Is it any of the apps that Apple has built? No.
Of course not.
Right? But this is a strategy that they watched Microsoft employ and dominate the corporate landscape for 10 years, and then they woke up one day and said, oh, increasing returns, let's let other people build apps.
It would be interesting to see if their increasing returns lead them to the sort of inevitability of let's let people, put these applications on other devices. Let's let people, put the Mac OS on other devices. Let's let people add a keyboard through a USB port. Let's let people replace their battery. Let's let people reuse Opera as a browser if they don't like Safari. That's the question.
That'll be the next big growth question for Apple.
I think they realized that the letting developers make the apps as a result of iTunes when they were making money off the artist's songs. Because at the end of the day, the song and the app is very...
It's content, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a similar content structure. It's like, how many songs are there? There's millions of songs out there, and in the volume, they end up making a killing out of that. So.
Okay, let's take a final news story.
Let's talk about Postling. Postling is a New York City startup founded by a bunch of former Etsy executives.
Yes.
They want to bring social media to small business owners. The idea is that Postling will help owners and employees of small businesses manage their social profiles without having to follow complicated metrics, wade through a lot of SEO jargon. So they use APIs from a variety of social services, think stuff like Yelp, Groupon, make a dashboard that the business owner then interacts with really easily. Just, something pops up, somebody left a negative comment about your store here, and you can just respond right there in the dashboard, or even get a special deal out, and it'll advertise it across platforms. They're calling it an advice recommendation engine. So the site recently raised $350,000 from angel investors, including Dave McClure, Thomas McInerney, and former Twist guest Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah, you go.
Does this assume social media is so complicated it can't be accessed by people who are also business owners? I mean, don't most small businesses have a kid there who knows how to use Yelp?
What we need is a Trada for social media.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a really good thing, because social media is constantly changing, constantly getting more complex.
Right.
So there's two ways to solve this. You can either build tools like Hootsuite, which I use now. I'm pretty impressed by.
Hootsuite is great.
I have the Hootsuite web application because I have multiple Twitter accounts. Or you can build tools with a layer of humans on them. I think I think the Trada approach would be a really good startup company to do. If somebody did we have 400 social media experts, you can hire them. The only problem there is you don't have as definitive as a goal. There's a cost per click. I want to pay this amount or that amount.
Right.
But
this seems almost like a tutorial. It's just they've created this dashboard and then all these APIs.
It sounds like HubSpot for social media. Do you know HubSpot?
No.
So HubSpot is a great company in Boston, General Catalyst funded, and they do SEO dashboards. SEO dashboards for small and medium businesses. They sell to marketers, $250 a month.
Right.
Incredibly successful. And the whole point is, SEO is complicated to understand. Let's just go figure out the keywords that matter and put them in a big list for you and give you a bunch of tools around that.
Yeah.
Trada's always sort of thought of itself as a counterpoint with an appropriate model to the SEO side of what HubSpot is doing for their kinds of customers. And social media, I think, is a legitimate third leg of the stool because it's kind of complicated. I mean, we started our social media strategy 3 or 4 weeks ago, kind of at the last minute. We have some pretty experienced people that we brought in to do it, and we still are figuring out our head from our ass on it. I mean,
you do have somebody good in the Twitter space because they are responding in real time to the show.
Elaine Ellis, our Twitter social media director, is awesome.
Social media ninja.
Yeah,
she is.
We have one here for this weekend. Hired.
We do.
Social media, Roberta.
Yeah.
Who does the Fit Club here?
She just started.
She's doing great.
Yeah.
Roberta is the one who is in the chat room talking to you guys, and so she's been doing an awesome job with the Twitter account, the Facebook account.
She's been fantastic. Yeah, I mean, really.
On your show, This Week in Twitter.
On This Week in Twitter, yeah, and I mean, our presence out there, I feel like, is exponentially gotten larger in the last 2 weeks.
I think it does a good job.
Really sort of started to figure out
So your Twitter is This Week in Twitter, TWI Twitter. On Twitter?
You mean the hashtag or the
both hashtag and the Twitter account?
The hashtag is TWI, tweet.
Okay.
Then This Week in Twit without the ER is our. That's our specific Twitter account.
Cool.
So This Week in TWITT, This Week in Twit.
I also see, I just typed in #tweet and I see there's a Facebook group.
Yes, she's created Facebook groups for all the This Week in shows. And not only creates them...
Oh, she's doing events too.
Yeah, and not only creates, this is the key, not only creates the group and throws one thing a week in there, but interacts with it, builds it, gives it a personality and a presence. That's what people are missing. Like, it's really easy to build a Facebook group or even worse, a fan page when you're like people who build their own fan pages and then they just let them sit dormant. Yeah. It's almost an insult to the people you want to follow you.
Which is sort of your point about the difference maybe between SEO, which is very analytical, and social media, in the sense that you then got to have a smart expert in there that knows how to respond to that. So can I tell this one Twitter story which I thought was awesome? So I wrote a blog post that gets re-syndicated through the Enterprise of Regulars, which is a blogging group that I'm a part of. And in it, I was talking about sort of stealth mode or not stealth mode, and I mentioned sort of as an aside that we had set up Zendesk. And we use Zendesk for all of our internal ticketing. It's a great application. And I went off in a little parenthetical rant about a report that they didn't have that I thought was really fundamental to trying to do ticketing. And that afternoon, the CEO of Zendesk, Mikkel Svane, I think is his name, tweeted out, getting some love for from Trada and also getting some beef, and actually linked to my article. That totally shocked me. I actually wrote a blog post about it last night. I went home and was like, oh, the new world of transparency. The fact that the CEO would point his readers to something that had both positive and, it wasn't negative, it wasn't like this is horrible, it was like, you guys need this report, it's basic, right? Yeah. Completely just really set me back a couple steps in my assessment of how to use social media. And so this is the full circle point, which is, okay, you own a boutique jewelry store down the road and someone tweets like, went by and they, they're in love with jade and they'll make anything in opal. Like, what's the response to that? Or, horrible customer service at my restaurant, but like, what do you then go do? And that expertise gap in social media is super critical because you can fumble the ball very easily in social media.
That's true, although I would respond that it's not really that different. If you're a retail store, you get that kind of flack all the time. Like, as somebody who worked in retail for many years, like, if you work in a retail store, there is almost no chance in a given day somebody's not going to come in and be like, this sucks, I hate this, I want to return this, how dare you do this, why don't you have this?
Right.
And so the same skills you would use there, and maybe people don't understand this. They think
yeah, but those things are not broadcast to the world.
Right. They think, but
so
the
you screw up.
Right.
But the strategies are still really the same.
There's similar strategies, except if you make a mistake in a store and somebody's offended, it's over, generally. Yeah. If you make a mistake on Twitter, it's in the Wall Street Journal or New York Times.
Right.
And you're an idiot.
And my point is only, there's not a lot of people in the world that would take that kind of approach that the CEO of Zendesk took, where he was like, I'm embracing this and I'm going to say, here's a balanced review, right? That's not a natural thing for people that have been running businesses, small businesses. Right. They want to contain. It's a containment default strategy. Social media is the opposite. It's about an exposure strategy because people are going to find out about it anyway, so you might as well lead the conversation.
Oh, that's what I do. I engage all the haters in the chats because it's just like, oh, it's all more inbound links for Mahalo, more people talking about Mahalo, check it out. And I know we're doing good stuff, so eventually what happens is the good stuff we do outweighs the criticism. A net.
It's critical mass building.
That's all it is critical mass building. This has been a great episode. Thank you to Ustream, DNA Mail, WebSpy, and PowerVPS for sponsoring the show. You make all things possible, including these absurdly expensive cameras that we bought. Everybody thank the sponsors. If you're listening to the show and you're listening to it a year later, that's fine with me. Just say thank you at Ustream, thank you at DNA Mail, thank you at WebSpy, thank you at PowerVPS for being on the show. Everybody follow Trada.
At Trada.
At Trada. Trada. Everybody thank Neil for being on the show. You were a great guest.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it. Much. Tyler, we got an Insider 2 in. It was very well done. And you actually got here and we're in the studio.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Great to be back on my high quality cam here.
It would be great if we could work on the camera situation for Tyler. I think it might have been a little blurry today. I don't know. I know I got an email a couple weeks ago that the camera might have been a little blurry, so somebody should probably work on that. Lon, great job on This Week in Twitter.
Thank you.
The show is taking off. I heard you had 300 or 400 people concurrently watching.
Yeah, we had about...
Not quite my numbers,
no,
but still significant.
We had about 350 at our peak today, which is a record for us to be watching live at the time,
Thank you to Kenny Chen, Dr. Chen, as Kevin Pollack will call him. Thank you, Emily. And thank you, Roberta. Thank you. Sorry. You want to hear a crazy story? At 5:30 in the morning, the nanny comes running into our bedroom. There's somebody banging on the door.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, he's right. I get up. I say, wake Jade up. Get in the closet, get the baby, get in the thing. Yeah. I'm in my underwear. I run into I hear the doors banging. I see a flashlight looking in our bedroom window.
Oh my God.
I was like, whoa. I run to the kitchen. I get 2 huge knives. Wah! It's like Gladiator.
The two knives.
Two knives.
Then you don't.
No, trust me.
Two knives.
I know how to use knives. I get on the wall. I'm looking out the window. I see somebody. I see them walk around the house. I got Jade on the phone with 911.
Mm-hmm.
People are crying. The whole thing it's on like Donkey Kong.
Right.
So I basically get behind the wall, and I'm ready for this person to come out from behind the wall, and I'm about to drive two knives into their stomach.
Right. Yeah.
Thank God the guy says, "It's ADT. Is anybody home?" He's got his gun halfway out of his holster because he must have heard me with the knives.
Right.
We have armed response at our house.
Oh, so something triggered the alarm.
The alarm wasn't on last night. I know that because I set the alarm. So when I woke up, I was like, oh my God, I didn't set the alarm. The one night I don't set the alarm, we get robbed.
Yeah.
So now I'm going crazy. I put the two knives down. I see the ADT guy because I'm in the house. I see him from another window. What happened? He's like, we got to report that the battery's dead on the ADT thing.
5:30 in the morning?
I'm like, 5:30 in the morning, you come for a battery alarm? He's like, well, we didn't know if the battery alarm was a thing. And I'm like, no problem. I was up here in terms of like adrenaline.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I came within 5 minutes of murdering somebody or getting shot. 5 minutes. If I had intercepted him at a different doorway, I might have just jumped on the guy and just.
Yeah.
I might have just gladiator.
Well, there's a lot of spots in your house to like.
Yeah.
It could have gone really wrong. There's a lot of nooks and crannies and places.
Holy cow! I swear to God, I am not exaggerating one part of this story.
That's insane. Why
The
would
guy
they
had the gun unbuckled because after the whole thing, I see him push his gun back down.
Yeah.
He had the gun halfway out, unbuckled. His hand was on the gun the whole time. And that's how I heard him say ADT. I see his hands on the gun. I see the ADT stuff. I know we have ADT in our house, whatever.
Right.
Thank God I didn't get the shotgun. Could have blown the guy in half.
I think 8 a.m. should be sort of industry standard. You don't bother people at home.
Well,
8,
I mean,
9
I
a.m.
understand. They get an alert that the alarm is battery's dead or something. They might think somebody's screwing around with the battery. Or the
call or something?
It turns out they did call.
Ah.
Called Jade's phone. They called the home line. Nobody picked up.
Right, okay.
They did call. Anyway.
Well, fair enough.
It was brutal.
That's frightening.
It was
frightening
wildly frightening.
Well, to see somebody at your home.
When you see somebody, when you see the lights going like this, I tell you, it was like a movie.
Yeah.
Because the doors start shaking. Then it goes around. The other door. So I'm like, oh my God, this guy's trying to find an open door.
Why?
And I'm like, why is he spending so much? Because I guess what part of the ADT security is to check that the doors are locked.
Yeah.
But then I said to myself, what burglar makes so much noise and shines a flashlight in?
Yeah, that's probably not the best plan.
And so I said, one with a gun is immediately what I thought. This must be 2 or 3 guys with guns. They're not scared that I'm going to wake up. And so I'm hiding in the corner going, and I'm trying to figure this out. If this person has the gall to make so much noise trying to break in, why are they not just kicking the door in?
Right, and then just.
And why are they flashing a flashlight in? And I'm trying to, all this disparate stuff. While I've only been awake for 5 minutes, I'm thinking about London, my poor daughter. I'm like, oh my God, my daughter's 4 months old, and this is it? Really? My whole life I've never had anything like happen. It was crazy.
That is a crazy story.
I don't know.
So
Somebody brought the ring over April Fool's. It's not. It's a true story.
So don't get a home alarm system. That's the, that's
get a home alarm system. Do not stab the ADT guy.
Don't stab the ADT guy in the stomach with 2 knives.
Can you imagine though, if you think about life and how fragile it is? Can you imagine the ramifications of if either I was shot today, this morning, or I'd stabbed the guy, or both, or if it had been real robbers?
Man, Steve Jobs would have been so pissed. He was stolen all his thunder this morning.
Yeah, no, in the news.
The top story at TechCrunch would have been
really
Jason Calacanis stabs man.
You'll have to think about these things on just how fragile life is. You know, like things could have gone terribly wrong. Whew, scary. You guys have a great weekend at 4 o'clock.
Don't get robbed. Woo! Always keep knives handy.
Keep
Thanks
your
for
knives
joining
handy. Learn how to use them. Watch some Gladiator. And, of course, This Week in Twitter is at 11 a.m. on Fridays. You missed that, but I see the Jason Shellen episode is up already, thanks to our crack team.
We had, Brizzly CEO
Jason Shellen, one of the...
was the guest today.
And he was also, I don't know if they consider him a co-founder at... He was a part of the team at Obvious Corporation, which did Twitter. I don't know if he's a co-founder or investor.
I think he's an investor, and he's good friends with Evan.
Well, they did Blogger together, but I think he was part of Obvious, and then Obvious did Twitter, so he's definitely that.
And I mean, one of the inventors. Of
somebody's saying Calacanis.com is on Hero Blog, so the Hero Blog guys were on the show. They're doing Calacanis.com. Congratulations, you got your yellow belt in Taekwondo.
I did,
yes,
this week.
This Week in Cloud Computing is 3 p.m. Wednesdays. Boy, that's doing well. Got sold out on the sponsorships. It's carrying the network right now. And, of course, This Week in Android starts in just 22 minutes. Thank God they put it on at 4. I would have been pushing them back. TWI Android. Big news, big news. Kevin Pollak is having Henry Winkler, the Fonz. Very nice. Another amazing guest.
Arrested Development. Two people.
I know, when he jumps the shark in...
Barry Zuckercorn.
Oh,
he's Barry Zuckercorn.
He's the dad of Bob Blah Blah.
No, he's their lawyer. He's their family lawyer, and then he runs off, and then Bob Blah Blah replaces him.
And Bob Blah Blah is
Scott Baio.
From
Happy Days connection, because Ron Howard created the show.
I know.
The narrator.
Exactly.
It all fits together.
Comes together This Week in Android in just a moment. Stay in the chat room. Thanks again for coming
you.
on the program.
It was
I hope
awesome.
you had a good time.
Super fun.
Tyler, I will see you in New York when we go to Open Angel Forum.
No,
too late.
That's next week.
I know, but it's too late to apply. But not too late to apply to Open Angel Forum in in Palo Alto.
Palo Alto, yeah.
Which is on the 16th?
16th, right.
The 16th, the week after. Yep. So we have back-to-back.
Right.
And then Los Angeles is on May?
No. We currently have it scheduled for April 26th, but I think we might move it to May.
Might move it to May because it would be like one a week.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're going to try to find somebody to run the conference company because this is getting a little ridiculous. No more cities until we get everybody. All right, we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups.
Spiked out, I could trip a referee. Tell by my attitude that I most definitely from.